It's Monday evening, 8 p.m, and you're listening to Diabetes Chat.
Hello. Monday night, 8 p.m. Well, just after. How are you all? It is good to be back. I feel like I've not been here the last couple of weeks. I don't know where I've been, to be honest. Hiding away in the background. Hello, Claire. Hello, Mark, Kes, and everyone else who's tuned on Instagram. And Marie, Shaz, Leah. Got people over on YouTube as well. Hello, gang. How is everyone?
I'm all right, thanks, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. All good. Like I said, I don't think I wasn't here last week because I was away working, and you guys smashed it. I think last week was phenomenal. Flipper hosting the guest speaker chat with Professor Nick Oliver. What a chat that was! So empowering. And then the whole team just came together and just blew the open forum chat. It was phenomenal, and it was great just tuning in. Hello, Shaz. She says, hi, everyone, over on Instagram. Let us know the question if you're listening on Instagram or Twitter for all, or even YouTube. Hello, and how is everyone tonight? That's our question for our welcome tonight. Hello, Kes. Hello.
Hiya.
How are you?
I'm really achy. I'm regretting my life choices.
It's because you're so active, Kes. All I see now on your Insta and Facebook, and you're so active. You're so it's great. I love it.
Yeah, I mean the running's one thing, but I don't know what possessed me to go and do that walk on Saturday. And now I can't move.
Oh man, have you been working today?
No, I'm off for 2 weeks.
Oh, nice. Happy days. Get you, eh? You got any plans, or just more adventure now? I guess once you've recovered.
Yeah, I mean I'll be at ATTD, so that'll be fun.
Oh yes.
But other than that, probably not an awful lot.
No. And that kicks off. Please remind me.
Oh, I knew you was going to say that.
I think it is.
Is it the 4th or the 5th?
I thought it was the 5th.
I think it's the 5th, isn't it? 5th tonight.
I'm so rubbish.
Something like that. We'll find out in due course when you're speaking about it and posting about it. We'll see what you're up to. Well, okay. Yeah. So looking forward to tonight. I know Mary's jumping on soon. Tony's there as well. From 8:30 tonight, our topic chat, Mary and Kes will be talking about diabetes clinical trials. Thanks to everyone who has took part in the poll this last couple of days. Mary posted it up the other day, and quite a good response, and people chatting away in the comments as well. So I'm sure Mary and Kes will read through them, analyze the sort of data of the poll, and if anyone wants to come share their experiences, the discussions, the chat, then please do. So yeah, how are you, Mark?
I'm okay. It's 9th to the 6th. I've just been looking on your Instagram, Kes. I couldn't find. I thought you'd posted it earlier today, but I'm okay. A little under the weather. I seem to have done something to my leg, and I've got to go and have it checked out tomorrow and stuff like that. I've been a little under the weather and having a few hypers, and suddenly that's all sorted out. But I just feel like I can hardly walk, so I'm in bed at the moment. So.
Oh, no.
To the doctors tomorrow. I'm hoping it's nothing too bad and what have you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I hope you get better. Hello to Zolia on Instagram. Hello to you. So we're everywhere now, aren't we? We're on I was going to say we're on Facebook. We are on Facebook. We do have a Facebook page. We're just not streaming to Facebook because we're too new on Facebook. So maybe one day we will. Who knows? We are on Instagram. We are on Twitter, and we are on YouTube. I have a couple of weeks off, and I don't know how to talk anymore. I don't know how to host. What's going on? But look, I can see all the diabetes chat team. It's like a team meeting, isn't it? Come on, where's Philippa? And then we'll go through the agenda. Hello to Zolia, who says hello, a smiley face. Please let us know your connection to diabetes from your name. I think that's how you pronounce your name, Zolia. You type 1 because it says T1D, and you're a runner. So I reckon you must be a runner. I must be bang on the money there, Tony. I reckon. Come on, Tony. Come say hello.
Sorry. I
put you on the spot.
Hello, you okay?
Yeah, not bad.
Good.
Hello to Gillian, who's just come on, and Shahad. Zolia says, yeah, haha, it's an awkward name to pronounce. Sorry. No, not at all. I hope I've said it right. It's a lovely name. So welcome along. How are you, Tony? How's your week been, my friend?
Yeah, it's been good. I had a bit of an odd one night before last. Just woke up really high, and so I had it looks as though I had a dodgy cannula, which considering all we've said about kind of the true steels being absolutely rocket proof, so I spent yesterday kind of battling to kind of get in the, get out of the teams really. So it was a bit hard. It's HCP's HCL's quite really good most of the time, but it's just sometimes you're high and it just really struggles to kind of bring you back really. So that was a bit odd. So my according to Clarity, my 2 days average isn't very good. So
Well, you go again, my friend, isn't it? That's what it's all
about. I know.
All is good. Hello, Leah.
Hello. You
how
okay?
Are you? Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. I tried to get on tonight. I know Mary was speaking to me earlier on the phone, but I've been.
All right, Leah.
Hi. I tried to make it. Honestly, I've just literally walked through the door.
Bless you.
But no, I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. I've had a few weeks of high sugars recently, and I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I'm sorting it. I'm sorting it out.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a megawatt though. Like you're doing so well with your training for the marathon and all. I was chatting to Leah earlier on, just work stuff, and it was so random and so lovely. Like when I found out it was you, it just made my day.
And mine. I was having a very gloomy Monday morning until you called.
Oh, and I sent Lydia your email back, like to say, like, these phone calls are so nice and so worth it.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So cool. Thank you so much for that. That made my day. Oh, yeah.
No,
so Leah's running the marathon, like the London Marathon for JDRF. Like, do you remember, guys? Like, she was talking about it early, like a while back. So I'm literally only walking though, and I didn't even walk today. To be fair, like I feel so like I was telling you earlier, like you made it sound so normal. Like
no, honestly, it is honestly. I'm nothing. I literally could not run. I promise. A year ago, I couldn't run for more than 2 minutes on Couch to 5K, and I've just stuck with it and just try to basically run further. I'm not faster by any means, but I just try and plod along. But also, I was running the a half marathon last weekend in Sutton Park, and weirdly enough, I was just jogging along, and there was others. Like I was doing the half, but there was a 10K there, and this man, he must have been on the 10K, and he like sprinted past me in a JDRF vest, and he shouted like "Type 1 Warriors" or something, and it just made me actually carry on running. But I did look for him at the end, but I couldn't find him, which I was a bit gutted about.
Oh, it just makes me smile. Like it's just it's so nice when you're doing something hard to see somebody else like who just totally gets it.
Definitely. No, I like the community. I just sometimes I go away and I'm like, I just work too much and I just need to get on more if I can on a Monday.
It's a hard day, isn't it? Though, like Mondays. I know for me, Mondays I feel like I want to have a big control of the week on a Monday, and so I feel like I work so hard on a Monday that I'm really done by the time Monday night comes, and then when I do make it to diabetes chat, like I'm tired, like, but I'm kind of still like all full up as well as a different kind of energy. So nice.
No, definitely, I agree. I could literally probably fall asleep right here, so I'll stay for a little while.
Well, go get yourself sorted, Leah. Like you just said, you just come through the door, go get a cup of tea or whatever. Like, bless you.
I've got Pepsi Max with me.
Say again.
I've got a little can of Pepsi Max with me, nice and cold.
Yes, yes.
I'm ready. I've cracked the cold one open.
Talking about cold, how have you guys been the last few days? It's been absolutely freezing here in the Midlands.
Yeah, it's been awful, hasn't it? It's just God, horrible.
Yeah,
it's yeah, and I think particularly with the weather. I mean, you've probably seen all of my tweets and stuff over the past week or so. With the weather just been so cold and wet and horrible, I've really struggled with it. You know, over the winter, I massively suffer with SID, but it makes such a difference being able to get out every day. And you know, when I don't, I feel really, you know, I feel really kind of, you know, cabin fever. So yeah, today's been great. You know, it's been good weather, but cold. Yeah, like you say, Tom, it's been cold in the Midlands.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I agree with that, Tony. Definitely. I at least try and get out on a little walk. At least just get some fresh air, even in the cold, because it really does help.
Yeah, and I suppose I've got my waterproofs in my golf bag, which I should dig out and just go out no matter what the weather is. You know, they're really good waterproofs and they'll keep me dry. So yeah, I shouldn't make excuses really. It's
the consistency is hard though, isn't it? Like that's a bit I find a wee bit like I didn't get out today and I do feel it like that I'm just a wee bit kind of scratchy around the edges.
Without wanting to make everybody jealous, this time next week I'll be in Agadir in Morocco. In my shorts, in my shorts and my t-shirt, you know, and it's probably going to be about upwards of 30 degrees. So, you know, not wanting to make anybody jealous or anything.
Will I go to Florence next week?
Oh my goodness! Yeah, look at you guys all going away on your jollies, eh? Leaving us in cold
equal parts
Midlands.
Scared and excited.
It's just again, it's having to. I mean, we've looked over the past 2 or 3 years, and it's this time of year that, you know, we've said to ourselves, just get a week somewhere or a long weekend somewhere warm. And so yeah, we tried to do it particularly this year because it gets harder every year. You know, particularly you know, dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and just I'm not good. I'm a summer baby. I like to feel the sun on my face. And it's some people love it, but then again, some people are absolute nutters.
One of the type 1 mums on Twitter, she shared a post there this week, and it was just perfect because it said that on a particular date, like that's coming up very quickly. I can't remember what the date it was, but it was like it'll be right until 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yes.
Yeah, and then won't be dark before 6 until like the something of October.
Yeah, funnily enough, Alex sent me that on Instagram the other day saying,
cool.
this is you, and it showed a picture of a guy dancing. And I was thinking, you're damn right, that's me. Yeah. So yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
it does have an effect, doesn't it? And on some more than others as well.
You know, I just had a look at the I was thinking about the consistency thing because I do mad things every now and then, like go out for a really long walk. And I realised I'd been on a really long streak of like, it was like 68 days where I'd done 10,000 steps.
Oh,
and then when
wow.
I missed it by like 50 steps, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I haven't done it since.
Oh,
That's proper. Yeah, that's a proper achievement, Kes.
that's amazing.
I need to, I think because it's been miserable as well, I'm like, I don't want to get up really early before work and go for a walk. Like,
A bloke I work with, he, he's a real big biker, and so he'll get up at, he'll get up at 5:45, 5:45, and kind of go for a ride for, for an hour before he starts work. It's just, I find that incredibly, incredibly inspiring. But I suppose and again, it comes back to that type of person. I'm really not a good morning person, but I can stay up till the early hours. So I guess it's just the way you're wired, isn't it?
Definitely. Honestly, I am not a morning person, but as I've got old, the grand age of 23, I'm now, because I'm so tired, I'm using work. I always
You absolute youngster, you. You realise I'm over twice your age, Leah.
I know, that's why I said it, Tony. But I've been trying to go to the gym before work and walking before work, just so then when I finish work, I can do nothing.
Yeah.
So I think I'm actually quite lazy in that respect.
Tony, if it makes you feel any better, if she was 1 year younger, she'd be twice my age. So
no, that doesn't make me feel any better, Mark.
However, it's how you feel, everyone. It's how you feel.
Okay, so possibly early 50s.
But I used to.
Go ahead, Mark.
Are you sure? Okay, I used to go for a walk at lunchtime. It's just with this weird thing I've got at the moment. I haven't been because it used to really help my blood sugars in the afternoon. Because COVID, I don't know if we've probably talked about it before, but I used to, as soon as we went into lockdown, my blood sugars went through the roof. Probably because we weren't moving as much, but I literally had to take mornings off trying to get them down from like the high teens. And I ended up having to change all my breakfast routine around and stop having orange juice and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think, particularly lunchtime. And I'm the kind of person who, because a lot of my work is very linear. It's project based, and so I can kind of lose myself for 4 hours without, you're looking at problems and stuff or working on stuff, and I think having that break of a lunchtime, I need to start to enforce that, because otherwise I'll just sit and browse, or even if I go downstairs and grab a sandwich, I can quite easily sit on my backside for the best part of 6 or 7 hours at a time. And of course, on days like this where we're doing this thing, it means that I've been stuck to a screen for
that's me. That's me, Tony. Like, and I'll get just so stuck into like trying to get a particular job done, and all of a sudden, like, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I haven't had my lunch, and like I have my breakfast probably by 11:45, like just between things. So you get stuck doing jobs.
Yeah, there is an argument for trying to, and particularly a couple of guys at work, they will block book their diary every day, 12 to 1, to make sure that they get a reminder, and so therefore break and go.
I have a block in my diary, like that in my Outlook that has lunch written on it.
Yeah.
But like, do you know when you're I'll have that alarm turned off. Like, I'll just won't even see that one. Like, it just no. I'll go at 1.
What is this lunch you talk about?
What is this?
Wasn't your day fairly structured though, Tom?
Yeah.
Was it in terms of the classroom?
Yeah, as a teacher, you Yeah. I am quite regulated in the sense of I would go at a certain time, but it's quite unpredictable that you may get called back or whatever. But I think I learned over time was I needed to make sure I do have a break, because like I used to like just quick sandwich or something not really eating properly, I guess, and then you just be straight back to it. But it's good to, you know what I mean, to look after yourself. It's important to look after yourself in that sense. We've got a couple of messages coming through I wanted to read out before I shoot off and leave you guys in charge. Talking about the weather, Gillian says you need to move further north and east. Was glorious and sunny but cold. I think that's when it's the worst, isn't it? When it looks quite nice, but then you go out and it's like ice cold, isn't it? It's like, ooh, so cold.
Because the thing I found with that was, you know, when it's cold like that, you go outside and suddenly your CGM just shoots up like a millimole, and you're going, whoa, and start walking faster. I find you try and get it down.
Yeah.
Gets a wee bit frightened.
Yes. Mark also put a question out. I don't know where it came from, Mark, but I've quoted it. So here's a question for everyone. What is your diet drink of choice? And Mark said he likes Pepsi Max, particular Pepsi Max Lime.
Pepsi Max Cherry.
Pepsi Max Cherry.
Oh yeah.
I used to like
never tasted it.
Pepsi Max Cherry is all right, but lime is very, very nice, especially when it's cold. You can also get Pepsi Max Ginger now as well, and mango. No, they've got rid of the ginger. They've now brought out mango as well.
I'm off to the shops then, everyone.
Do you know, I don't know if I've seen any of them over here. Maybe I'm just not looking.
I saw the mango one. I did see the mango one.
I'm not sure about that even sounding that good.
Mary, so they don't have them type of drinks over in Ireland, and they don't have casinos. What do you guys do over there in Ireland? Come on, sort it out.
All we do is just sit by the fire and
Yeah,
watch
it depends.
the candles flickering.
It depends. It depends what your religion is, doesn't it?
That's for the after chat. Let's read a few of the comments coming through. What is your diet drink of choice? Kes says Pepsi Max. Yeah, high five for that. Stephen says Pepsi Max Lime. There you go. There's a buddy for you there, Mark. So whenever you're meeting up with Stephen, you can order Pepsi Max Lime each. Jim says Diet Coke. Is someone doing no blood tests? Finger test?
No, I zipped up my boot there. Sorry.
It sounded like you know what? Yeah. Jim says Diet Coke. There you go. I love it. We should.
My mum says.
Oh my God, gin. Oh. What you?
I like your mummy.
Diet gin. Diet gin.
Diet shots don't have any sugar in them.
Diet lemonade with the gin to counteract it.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. Oh God, what's the name? Fever Tree. Fever Tree do some really great.
They are nice.
Yeah, they're really great.
The pinky one.
Yes. Yeah.
What is that one?
Aromatic. The aromatic ones.
They are nice.
So you like
frozen raspberries?
I just can't stand. I'm a really traditionalist. I can't stand all of that kind of flavoured gin. You know, the rhubarb and all the stuff. No, it's got to be. If I'm going to have something fruit in it, it's got to be either the tonic or the fruit.
So you like Diet Pepsi though, Tony?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I prefer Pepsi to Coke. I've always preferred Pepsi to Coke. I don't know why.
No, but the Diet Pepsi, I can't. I will have. That's why a lot of people, they brought out Pepsi Max, because a lot of people, there is a different taste to, or there used to be, to Diet Pepsi to normal Pepsi.
No, I don't like Diet Pepsi either, Mark.
Ooh, right, okay.
Yeah, I don't like Diet Coke. It has to be Pepsi Max. Like,
yeah,
that's like, oh.
I don't care.
Do you not mind? No.
No. My favourite's Club Orange, though, like the Club Zero.
Who's noticed that McDonald's now do Fanta Zero Sugar? I love it.
Yes. And
yes.
isn't it so nice that you have another option that's just not either Coke or like
Or
7-Up or Sprite or water? Yeah.
And Oasis as well, actually.
I missed Fanta when I got diagnosed because I couldn't really drink it as much.
Well, the one thing to do is if you ever go to like Burger King or Five Guys, they have a load of on their fountain thing where you can choose. There's loads of diet drinks on there and zero ones. So if you ever go to them, because I know there are some Burger Kings that have the similar fountain to what Five Guys have, like the one in Birmingham, the one by the old Marks that has them, or it had them the last time I went.
Yeah, it's an American thing, isn't it? Because the times when we've been to places like Disney in the States, they'll have those machines, and there'll be literally dozens of choices, in terms of sugar-free or non-sugar-free, and there's some real mad stuff in there, particularly root beer, diet root beer, and
Diet root beer.
Just,
it is one
Diet ginger ale. Diet ginger ale's tasty.
Yes.
Oh no.
So is it me, and am I showing my age? But root beer. Does anybody remember Germaline? That stuff you used to run.
Oh, Germaline! Yes.
Do you not?
You're showing your age.
Yeah, you're showing your age, Uncle Tone. Come on.
Yeah,
that's the pink stuff.
Cheeky whippersnapper, you. But don't you think, Mary? Don't you think there's a bit of with root beer? There's a bit of Germaline in it.
I can kind of smell it.
What's Germaline?
It's like it's like Savlon, like an antiseptic. Yeah, antiseptic cream that was kind of really, if you, as a kid, you running about and you fell over and you scuffed your knees, you'd rub some Germaline on it and then stick a plaster, so it was antiseptic. But it's got a very distinct smell to it, and a very distinct colour as well.
And it's not a TCP smell, but it is a kind of a medically, sweet medically smell, isn't it?
Yeah. So but I suppose me and you, Mary, we're of a certain age where these kids don't get it.
I mean, to be fair, I remember it, and I'm not. I was going to say I'm not really old. That's really awful. I didn't mean it like that.
Can you not? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but whenever I smell root beer, I always think of Germaline. It's got that really odd.
It's a funny smell.
I wonder what it is. It might be like a herb or something that they put in both. Because it is a nice smell. It's not a bad smell. It's not like TCP.
It's like carbolic as well. You can remember carbolic soap? You used to get it at school. And
is that the orange one? No.
Yeah, it is.
No, that's
yeah. Oh, pears. It was pears. It was kind of an ovally shaped soup. And anybody remember Lifebuoy soap?
Yes.
The 2 in a pack, the long pack.
And Mighty, you remember Mighty?
Yes,
yes.
Oh, that was a wee cute guy.
We're going proper old school, you guys.
I know.
Still by Mighty.
I know.
Leah's like, what are these?
I now sound like I officially sound like my granddad.
But you can seriously still buy Matey. I've seen it in Boots.
Yeah,
it's kids' bubble bath, and it used to have like this look be like a sailor, and they had other what's it's in as well, like other designs.
Oh, other families had parents that loved them and bought them that.
We have a few more comments coming. Great question, Mark. It's got social media really going for it. Diabetic Crozzy on Insta says Iron Brew Extra. Does anyone like Iron Brew?
that's a bit like kind of like, okay, you can get that in sugar-free, can't you? No.
Yeah. But it tastes different to iron brew. So when I was at uni, I used to drink the full. Well, before I was being sensible, I used to drink the full fat iron brew. Probably not the wisest thing to have ever done, but hey, I was a bit reckless back then and used to just have normal cherry coke because there was not a diet cherry coke back then. Back in the early noughties.
Yeah.
I just stuck to alcohol. It was easier on my blood sugars.
Well, you couldn't.
I've just seen Stephen's post about the fruity gins, Tarquin's Blood Orange. There's is it Malfi? Malfi do a gin. They're an Italian gin, and they do a Blood Orange, which is absolutely gorgeous, and then they do it like a tangerine, and then a lemon, and so those are the only gins, the fruity gins that I've tried, which I've liked.
Oh, now you're taking it. Now the Scotsman, the one that's talking about iron brew and gin and all that. But at the time, how you do? So my mate, we once had a night here. Not long after, in fact, it was about a year after I had been finally formally diagnosed. It was the middle of COVID, and we had a night here just after lockdown had sort of been lifted. And my mate and my mate drank a whole bottle of Malfi gin to himself. He'll never touch the stuff again. Yeah. And I moved on the Tarquin stuff because it's much nicer.
I was like that. I was like that with tequila years and years ago with a mate, and we must have put away a bottle of tequila, each over. Admittedly, it was over the 7, 8, 9 hours. So, and God, I was still being ill the following evening at about 8 o'clock. Never since the idea of it. Never since.
He basically stayed in the bed in our house for the whole of the next day. While we were out and about, going like, "Where's Ian went? Oh, he's in the house. He's not moving." But Iron Brew Extra Mark, Diet Iron Brew and Iron Brew Extra are two different things. The Diet Iron Brew tastes like. Somebody's trying to phone me. And that Iron Brew Extra actually tastes like ordinary Iron Brew before they ruined it a couple of years ago. So there you go.
Okay.
So I hope that makes sense. That was the only reason I wanted to join the chat tonight, just once we started talking about Iron Brew.
I don't think I've ever tasted Iron Brew. I
think Mary, we need to sort that one out if you ever come over to Scotland.
Oh well, I'll have to put it on top of my list. Like, is there deep fried Mars bars I need to have as well?
On your bucket list,
well, I don't know about the deep fried Mars bar. That's an acquired taste.
No, I quite like deep fried things, and I like Mars bars too. You see, I'm wondering if they can go together. It is a wonder.
Grew up in Brum and moved up to Johnston when he was in his early 20s, and I've been up there 2 or 3 times to see him, and it's always one of the things he got me really into was square slice, which is basically it's a square sausage for breakfast, and it's just absolutely brilliant, and so makes everything much easier that you could stick sausage between 2 pieces of bread without worrying about the bits of sausage that you've missed on the bread stuff. So that was good. And again, they've become Iron Brew freaks, and Dean and his family. They, every time.
He'll hopefully get his square slice out of the Eldersley Butcher if he's from Johnston, because that's just up the road from where I'm originally from. So there you go.
Okay.
I know very well.
What's in square slice? Is it just a square sausage?
It's like it's sausage meat, is it? Kind of like
sausage meat, sort of.
Yes, sausage meat
formed into a square.
We have a vegetable roll over here, and there is like a tiny smackerel of parsley in it, and that's the only bit of vegetable. Like
the only green. Does that count as 5 a day, Mary.
You eat your 5 little tiny slivers of parsley. It's very tasty. It's beef. It's beef. Yeah, beef and spicy and a tiny bit of parsley.
Amazing. A few more of these diet drink question. What's your choice of diet drink? Gillian says, really don't like anything carbonated, so water or a water with a splash of cordial. Yeah, especially with loads of ice, and especially in the summer when it's really hot, you can't beat a glass of like blackcurrant.
I love blackcurrant.
Yeah,
my waddy.
Yeah.
Do you guys get my waddy over there?
No, don't think
No.
so. Mary, when I come over to Derry in May, we're gonna have to have we should do like a special drinks and food challenge just for me to just like experiment.
I'll have to bring a hamper.
Somebody
That sounds good.
A lunchbox.
Yeah.
As somebody who's been across there with the NI lot a couple of times, Tom, just a word of warning: be careful. They are serious about their entertaining. Let me just say.
Ellie says, "I like Tesco ginger beer." Zolia says,
"Cream soda." They do a Tesco do a diet.
Oh no,
they do a diet cream soda.
I used to love that. Oh, what was that other one? That cream soda. Oh my goodness. The red one. It was like cream soda. Cherryade.
Oh, there's pineapple aid as well.
You know what I used to do? Did anyone watch Coronation Street with Mike Baldwin?
Yeah.
I used to pretend I was Mike Baldwin swirling like a glass of Cherryade. And yeah, that was like my childhood. And also, did anyone ever do that thing where you have like a 2-liter bottle of whatever, and then instead of pouring it in a pint glass, you pour it in the what's it called? Can't even speak. The thing, the bottle lid thing. Did anyone used to do that? You used to pour it into your lid and then sip it. Did anyone used to do that?
Oh, I'd have tiny drinks.
Yeah.
Little baby drinks.
Oh my gosh. Mark, what have you created with this question tonight? Oh,
do you know what
question?
I think in the south of Ireland, like when I moved up north, I couldn't understand why I couldn't get any red lemonade. Like there's only brown lemonade. Like, and we have. I wonder if we still have red lemonade. It's like the amount of E numbers and all to make it like it wasn't allowed in the north.
No.
It was
was amazing.
Like the Corona pop man, wasn't it? Every kind of in the 70s, I remember. You know, the pop guy used to come around every Friday or something, and of course you had these bottles, and there was all kinds of
glass bottles.
The pop guy.
Dandelion
Corona.
Yeah, Corona.
Who's the pop guy? Is that just like the milk bottle man, but a pop man?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They were called Maine's Minerals.
They were made by a company called Corona, which was was very interesting.
Oh gosh, I'm feeling old now because we used to collect the glass bottles and bring them to the shop, and we get like 3p I think per bottle or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that too.
Absolute madness.
All I keep thinking about now is, did anyone used to put ice cream in their cream soda?
Oh yeah. That was good.
The irony of a load of diabetics talking about sticking ice cream in pop.
Well, it is the open forum after all.
These all matter to us because we know that they were special moments.
So is this a Midland thing? So when I was first married, I used to say pop, and my wife couldn't understand what the hell I was talking about. And of course, it means soda, Coke, anything like soft drinks, and we always called it pop. Is that a Midlands?
Well, let's try this one, Tony. If you haven't got any pop, you could always have the council pop.
Council pop, yeah.
What's that?
What's the council?
Water.
Oh, out there's water. Yes.
Ah.
Told you they want to get it, Tony.
Yes.
Black Country or Rugby Council Pop.
That's coming back now. Yeah, that's
So
coming back.
is it a thing? I mean, is it a Midlands thing? You know, in the same way that we
Yeah,
call
I think it
rolled
is.
cobs and
Yeah. My
cobs not.
stepdad, honestly, I used to think he was talking another language when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Because we're proper common down south. We just call it what it is. It's Pepsi, it's Coke, it's
The brand, yeah.
whatever.
We call them minerals.
What?
Ew, quite posh.
A
Minerals.
mineral.
Oh my
No.
goodness. A few more. Claire says Pepsi Max. Yep. Diet Coke. All right. Obviously you talk about the mateys. Zolia says I've never liked fizzy drinks, even as a child. She prefers coffee. I said the Iron Brew. Orange, I think that was one. Obviously cream soda. Great little question there to start the night. So
Another blast from the past. Does anybody remember Dandelion and Burdock?
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever tasted it.
No, I wasn't a fan. I remember thinking, I was at my nan's actually, and I was like, oh, I might just sneak in the cupboard and see what's in the cupboard, and I hated it. I wish hadn't bothered.
Scarred.
Next people will be talking about Advocate.
Coles Advocate, the yellow stuff.
Oh, something older people used to have. I don't know if you, Tony
That was
might.
that was a Christmas drink, wasn't it? It was always
My mum loves it.
Snowball with lemonade.
No, yeah.
My
It was
mum
always
loves
so
it.
sickly sweet, though, wasn't it? It's just
And what about then Lucozade? Because let's bring it a bit more back to diabetes. When I was first diagnosed, that was like okay, here's a question then. What was your sort of hypo treatment when you were diagnosed? Because I remember when I was diagnosed, I was told basically have Lucozade if you're hypo or a Mars bar. They were the two things.
Lucozade,
and they're completely different now. You know what I mean? Like 17 years on, it's like I don't think anyone would really go for a Mars bar now, would they? Really?
No. And like, do you know what? Do you know what I loved? Right, this is when this old fresh bottle of Lucozade from the fridge, and then the rest are warm and like upstairs, and was like used 2 days ago or the night before, and it was like warm and flattened. I had like my gulp measures. I would do 5 shallow mouthfuls, and that was my hypo treatment. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I closed the bottle.
Wow.
You think when
God, it's always the same. That we all have instant, like you mentioned about the 2-day-old. You know, there's been times when I've just one hypo last summer when I went to get my jelly babies out the car, out the glove box, and of course over the summer they'd melted.
Yeah.
And so they were all, so literally I was grabbing a hand, and in the past, I think 3, 4, 5 years ago, I had a hypo in my wife's car, and the only thing that was in there was Parma violets. And, oh my God, it was just revolt. I was thinking, now do we call an ambulance or do I eat these damn things? And it was horrible. It was just horrible. But again, it's that, like you said, Mary, it's that just anything sweet, go. Doesn't matter how it tastes, get it down.
Oh, I'm remembering a similar hypo, like in the car, and the melted jelly in the bag, and like it was like one solid jelly blob.
Yeah. You were like, kind of almost biting, but of course, mine was stuck in the inside of the packet, so it's not as if you could get them. It was like
no,
it was like the crystal maze, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now here's something. When you were first diagnosed, were you actually given an amount of Lucozade to take? because I can remember being in school and just yamming the whole bottle, the small bottle. But I remember your Lucozade when it used to come in you had to go to the chemist and it was in a yellow cellophane.
Yes.
Oh yes, yeah.
It wasn't available not everywhere. It was just a pure drink for when people were ill.
And it was twisted at the top.
Yeah. But
You
that's
only,
one,
that
but
was, you only ever had that when you were sick, because
yeah,
I remember that was, growing up, that was always the thing that you had to eat when you were sick.
sick.
I
Oh,
think
it's such
for
a
me,
hangover drink as well.
Yeah.
Like an
it was either Coke or Mars bar. It was never Lucozade. So maybe at that time when I was diagnosed, it was the treatment of choice.
See, I remember it. So in 2019, they told us not to use Lucozade because they'd reduce the amount of sugar in it.
Yes.
And then it was like, oh, just have 4 jelly babies, and now
Yeah, because back in the day they did reduce Lucozade because of all the kids were drinking it just as pop, and
sugar
and so
tax
it was.
too.
What about them? What about them new drinks? I've never actually had one. The Prime or whatever. Are they full of sugar? Like, are they called Prime? Them colour.
Yeah, you can get sugar-free versions.
Can you
I
get
think,
sugar-free ones?
Yeah.
Okay. You'd think so.
but they're full of caffeine.
Are they?
Yeah.
It's the caffeine is like Red Bull, isn't it? It's a kind of energy drink.
Yeah. Gillian says, "You're all reminding me of what my dad used to drink before Diet Coke was available. Here's one for you, Tone. Let's see if you know this. The only sugar-free carbonated beverage was Tab."
Ooh.
Yes. Remember the can little TIB?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got it here. I'll tag you in it.
And it didn't have a normal wrinkle. It because back then it wasn't like the 2-point wrinkle. It was one where it fully came off. But then Tab had, if I remember rightly, 2 little buttons that you used to press on it. Am I right? Am I remembering that right?
I can't recall that. I don't think I liked it ever. I remember seeing it in but I don't think I ever kind of. I've got no idea what it tasted like. Is it a cokey thing or?
I don't even remember it.
It was clear when I when I had it, because Tab was part of Coke, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And
then 7-Up came out, because that was one of the first kind of variations on the on either Coke or Pepsi. It was either Coke or it was Pepsi. And then so Tab came out, and then 7-Up, and everybody was calling it Zup until we all worked out that it was 7-Up.
That is mad.
I know.
Oh, I wasn't sure whether 7-Up was just over where we are. Like,
I realise now that every time you see 7-Up now, all of you have cursed it, haven't I?
No. Dead
so
right. Jim says Tab was originally available in bottles in 1966. It was a product of Coca-Cola. Wow.
Cheeky bugger. That's actually 2 years before I was born. So
Jim also says Fresca, Fresca. Is that how you pronounce it? Fresca was my first diet drink. What was that, Jim? Please let us know what sort of flavor. What an interesting conversation on our open forum here on Diabetes Chat.
It's open forum chat time. Hashtag Diabetes Chat.
Good old Martin there. Absolutely love it. So we will hand over
You
to Mary and Kes, who I know are going to have a little chat with you guys now. And I will
thanks, Tom.
leave you to it, listen in the background. But yeah, fascinating chat to go
Cool.
so far. And get involved, guys. Come up to the panel if you want to come say hi. And I know Mary and Kes are going to host this next sort of 40 minutes or so, talking about diabetes clinical trials. So enjoy.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going like just a chat, nothing too structured, but like just to talk a bit more kind of openly about them. If people have been involved, I know some in the chat have been a part of clinical trials. Like what I'm going to talk about, like what interests us in a clinical trial to actually want to sign up, or what we hope to get out of them. If you've taken part in one, did what you think you might get out of it, did that happen? Why it did, why it didn't? Has anybody been part of a clinical trial then in the group? Stephen, I know you talked about it on the research night with Kes too, isn't that right? Is that right? Am I remembering that right? Is that right, Kes? Am I having a blooper?
No, you are. You're right. I thought it was quite interesting actually. After that, a lot of people were saying that one of the issues, or someone in particular that I saw, one of the issues was that a lot of the things they were being asked to take part in Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
Which I guess is, I mean, I did struggle with that a little bit. It just so happened that most of the time when I needed to go to London, I was off anyway. And obviously trying to get into London before kind of 10 o'clock is really expensive.
Yeah, but you had a really vested interest in getting in as well.
Yeah, I think it definitely makes a difference, but I suppose most of the sessions that I attended for the study were remote anyway. It was just the kind of initial appointments and the follow-up that wasn't.
Yeah.
But still, 80 odd quid for a train ticket, if you're then going to have that reimbursed, is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you have to pay for it up front first before you
Yeah.
get it reimbursed, that is definitely. It doesn't matter if they're paying for it. Like, you have to find it first and then be without it in your bank account for weeks, because getting paid back is not that quick.
Not straightforward.
No,
Not straightforward.
I know I was I've been a part of a few different ones, and like I remember the first one I was approached because it was in part of clinic, and it was easy because it was like literally, I think they kept an eye on when you were in next, and I probably was seen maybe once every 4 months at that point, maybe 5 months. So it was quite regular when I was in, and they would keep an eye and see when you were in, and then when your appointment was, and then take you to the side. So it wasn't even that you had to go somewhere else. It was easy.
Yeah. I mean, I've not really been around that long in terms of living with diabetes. So this is the first one that I've actually done with the study project. But what was really interesting about it is, obviously I wanted help anyway myself.
Yeah.
In relation to the disordered eating and stuff. But at the same time, because I was speaking to someone, because it was obviously rolled out as a kind of something that DSNs could deliver alongside all of the other things that they do,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't then have anywhere to hide when the difficult questions came up.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay. So whereas before, when they send you to IAPT or whatever, you spend most of the time explaining what living with diabetes is like. I didn't have that to hide behind because they knew, and they would not push, appropriately push. Do you know what I mean? Not insensitively, but they weren't worried about then questioning you further. I hadn't really thought about that, strangely.
But it means then they're asking you really meaningful questions because they know the back, they know a great deal about the challenges, so like they validate those and then leave the space then for you to talk about the things that are specific to the trial, like to what like would be helpful.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's so interesting.
It was really good.
Did you have like an idea of how it might help you? Like it was to help yourself that you took part in the trial. It wasn't to help others necessarily. It was to help yourself.
Yeah, it was, because I didn't really. I think it wasn't long after that I'd obviously gone through the kind of fight for getting a pump and stuff as well. And I think I said in my feedback to them not that long ago, actually, if I'd have had this support, would I have stayed on injections? Maybe. If the support was ongoing and longer term, would I have fought so hard for the pump? Maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I think everyone's goals with it would be different. So like mine very much was around that I have a real thing about social eating, and I was panicking because we were coming up to a work Christmas meal and I wasn't quite sure how I was going to manage that. So that became one of the goals.
Okay.
And there were lots of different tools. Like there was one that was around logging like your insulin doses and stuff, which I couldn't do because it was too numbers focused, and that's what I was trying to get away from.
Yeah.
And one which was like more of a thought diary, which I found really helpful to kind of challenge what I was thinking and feeling.
So they had two different ways of like two different methodologies that you could choose and could gravitate towards that would help. Like it was choice. There was choice.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because when I started, I was on the Libra and I was scanning. I mean, and now I think about it, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I actually did that. I was scanning like 52 times a day.
Wow.
And I changed to looping with the Guardian 4 during that time. But it was that process of letting go and letting it do its thing that I was struggling with.
Yeah.
Which was then obviously impacting the
taking over
the regular meals and stuff. And so they did a lot of work around that as well.
Wow.
But yeah.
And like after the trial, did like I know there's still stuff going on like in it. Will you get kept in the loop about the trial? Or
yeah, so I asked about it, and I know that I'm obviously not going to say too much because they're going to publish, I think this March actually, looking at publishing some of the results from that, and then they're going to come on and have a chat about it. But yeah, I think the bit that I struggled with was once it finished, apart from the kind of follow-up when I was going to give the feedback about how I'd found the process, that was it.
Yeah.
And then when I was struggling, or if I've struggled, it was like, well, where do I go now? Because those services now still don't exist. So that's been a bit tricky.
And you know, like that says to me is like and the difference I see in care between pediatrics and adults is that like we're seeing religiously every 3 months in pediatrics. And it's actually talking to Dawnie earlier on today, and she was talking about the DCC T trial, like which like it was like intensive support and like conventional support, and an intensive support is like having an appointment every 3 months. Imagine if we had an appointment every 3 months, how supported we would feel. Because I know that 3 months comes around for us quite quickly in pediatrics, and I know that 5 years, my last appointment took a long time to come round. So there's when you don't have that support, and in a trial you get more support than you would get in real life even, which is hard.
Yeah.
So anyone else been on any trials like that would like to come and chat, or it's what I'm trying to do is understand. I'm speaking next week in ATTD on the inclusion of quality PRO assessments in clinical trials and what it means to people with diabetes. And when they're not included, the trials aren't person-centered. So if they're not person-centered, is it meaningful research? So if it's not something that we can fit in with our lives, and it was really kind of timely when I was listening to Michelle. She's from the south of Ireland. She is an occupational therapist. She's got type 1, and she was talking on a podcast that I only listened to this morning. And Grania from Thrivabetes shared it as well if you want to find it. Like, but as an occupational therapist helps you fit in your issue into your life, and it's like we're missing that in diabetes. We're missing that in like we've so much to do with type 1. We're missing fitting it in among our lives, and so we crave a bit of support. And when we don't get it,
there's no kind of it's like all just really disjointed, isn't it? Like I've said a few times when I've gone to clinics and stuff, or when the healthcare professionals have come on and had a chat with us, like my role with day to day as a social worker, there are so many different people who could be helping the wider community with, do you know what I mean, with the roles that they do and can contribute to stop it feeling less disjointed. And at times it does still feel like you're just on your own.
Yeah, and it's not all medical where we need help, because I do remember, and I might have said it last week, like that when Johnny was diagnosed, the help that I needed wasn't medical. It was all the little things, like all the little things that like were just all bundled together in a washing machine, and I couldn't separate them to even say, could you do this for me? What about if you do that, and they like, if somebody wants to help, they want to do a big thing, not like take a load, like go back like a literal load of washing and hang them out, or like to peel a bag of spuds, or to lift a child, or even take Sophie to the park because I wasn't getting out the door. But it was little tiny things, and you just can't see that where you need the help, or you can't when you're overwhelmed, when you can't, and you can get so overwhelmed in the numbers with type 1, especially, that you, like, or if you're on insulin, that you can't see how to help yourself.
Yeah, I think your question about the was it HbA1c and time in range, quality of life stuff. I mean, I think, but for me, with the trial that I did, as my well, I can't really say it. Obviously part of it was to do with the tech as well. I can't deny that. That's quite obvious. But as I felt better in myself, my HbA1c and my time in range changed as well.
They go together, don't they, though?
Yeah. I couldn't really see it like separately.
No, I think like one follows the other. Like I found a quote and it was like Henry Ford said it, and it's about success just naturally following on. Let me see, where have I got it? Like if everyone's moving forward together, then success takes care of itself. So like where when you everybody's needs are included, and you've got like the clinical outcomes and the glucometrics, and you've got the person's outcomes all considered. Like you can't not have like quality of life and glucometrics at the same time. It'll just naturally occur whether you got the tech or not. You would still have seen improvements because you would have felt better in yourself.
Yeah.
It might have been a different rate of improvement.
Yeah, definitely.
And that like the response to that was it neither surprised me or like we need different things at different times, and like maybe when you have a good quality of life, maybe like that's where you just want to get better time in range. You're moving to get a better time in range then, because you've kind of got the quality of life bit to a point where you're quite content with that, and then so you've got the headspace to look at doing different things to improve your A1C.
Yeah.
And it could be the other way around, where you focus so hard and you've got a really tight A1C, but you've no life. And
weirdly, I did find during that period when I was doing the study, the less I focused on the numbers, which was a massive issue for me, it like took over my life, the better things became. Which didn't make sense to me then, but kind of does now.
I think that makes so much sense to me. And like when I remember when I don't remember too much before Johnny was diagnosed, if I'm really honest. It was like I've had 3 lives already, but the bit from when Johnny was diagnosed to like the first year, I remember at the year point, I was so broken. Like, and I couldn't understand why nobody cared about my diabetes. Like before then, like why I didn't care about it and why nobody else did. And because I didn't really, I just kind of plodded along with it. But when his was there, it was just like, I can't even remember now why I was talking about that. Sugar. What were we talking? How do we go into that, Kes? Maybe you can't remember either.
I've got a comment. I've got a comment if you don't mind me sharing there, Mary.
Yeah.
It will stop me from eating these matchmaker chocolates that I'm demolishing. I guess it's relatable. Zolia says on the Instagram after I had my son, I went 2 years without, because you were talking about impedes, they're seen every 3 months, and with us guys, adults, maybe it's a year or 6 months or whatever. And she said after I had her son, I went 2 years without a type 1 diabetes appointment with any specialist because they just kept, I know, because they just kept cancelling my appointments. When I moved up north, the referral just got lost in the system. It's just really heartbreaking to hear things like that, isn't it? It's so.
And you know, your life is so altered, like when you have a baby, when you've got type 1, because like you find out you're pregnant, and then you have to find space in your already busy time, because like you're busy at that age, like because you're trying to get on with your work, and you're not that necessarily it depends on your age, but you're still like not in your 40s, like you're in your 20s or 30s, or even in your teens, but like you have to find an appointment space every 2 weeks for half a day, and then you have your blood sugars, your insulin needs change so dramatically. Like in your last trimester, you need so much insulin, like the day you give birth, and then you need so little the next day, and you've got such pressure on you for like such tight blood sugars. You're so confused, and you go from being in clinical appointments every week at that point to being on a ward where nobody understands your type 1 at all, and you just feel like you've just kind of walked through sliding doors and like into a parallel universe which looks the same, only they haven't a clue, and you don't have a clue either, because your body's totally different. And I can't believe you didn't see somebody for 2 years. That's shocking.
I know, and I think we have seen and heard, haven't we, on community chats like this, that people over COVID didn't get to see their team, and maybe only starting to go back to see them now, I guess. But yeah, it really is heartbreaking when you see stuff like that. And you know what, like people, trying to think, brain fog. People like Nikki Breslin and other people who are such fantastic advocates for pregnancy and post pregnancy, and there's been a few sort of chats about it the last couple of weeks, and I've seen it, and I think maybe we need to look at maybe getting Nikki on or someone from the team to come on, because like I think it'd be such an important chat to hear and learn about. But like you were talking about, you having appointments and stuff. I don't know if I've kind of gone off a bit from the discussion here, but like you're having all them appointments while you're pregnant, Mary. But then it's the after, like you say, after you've delivered birth, you still need like the support and stuff.
I know Nikki talks about it's like you literally drop off a cliff.
Yeah,
you literally drop off a cliff, and you've got this tiny baby that needs you, and your body's all different. And then you've got all the other stuff going on that other new moms have, like that, and it's easier on your second, but like it's so scary, like on your first, and you don't necessarily have normal pregnancies because, or normal births, because they're just not quite the same, or you're led to believe that they won't be the same, so they'll like maybe start you earlier, and which is not necessarily good for you or the baby, like either. Like it just is not ideal. It doesn't feel like it's ideal at all. But then you have, touch wood, really have the baby, so it's okay.
100%.
Yeah.
But then it's interesting, isn't it? Because in both of those situations that we've talked about, even when it's been like a trial or something, it's like you do the trial, and then there is nothing, or you have that experience, and then there's nothing, and you're kind of just left dealing with all the stuff.
So what is that? Is that because, like, I remember when I was pregnant that I felt actually used. I felt like they treated me like a cow, and once that they weren't helping me, they were helping my baby, which is okay. But my baby will grow up into an adult, and does that? It continuously makes me think now, like since Johnny was diagnosed, do us as adults not matter? Does our type 1 not matter? Does our type 1 just change to this bland type of diabetes that has no individual needs? When I see, like in our house, like they're so different, yet they're the same. And but they are all fine till they're not fine, and that it's all okay until everybody goes to bed, and then when the lights go out, that's when like I feel like nobody else understands, like not even Johnny, because I mind his at nighttime. So I know that like I could see him, and I worried about that when he was skiing, like because I knew he had to take that responsibility, and I knew he did, and he did it well. But it was a worry, like that I was afraid he wouldn't even try and sleep. But he did, because he was so knackered. Like, yeah, it's just at nighttime nobody understands.
No.
So here's one for you then. If there was a diabetes clinical research study to do with something with looking for the cure, so I'm not as knowledgeable. I'm sure you guys are. Like Mary, you might be able to.
Might not be either, though. Don't.
But like you
don't,
know,
don't
like
assume.
there's a few things going around with like stem cell research, clinical
Yeah.
things, and stuff like that. If that come to you guys, would you be interested in looking at it or learning more about it?
I was thinking about this weekend.
We were talking about it yesterday, actually. Go on.
Yeah. So like Miroslava put, she's one of the DDoC voices. So she shared on Instagram over the weekend. She's written a really good blog about the Vertex trial, and it has expanded out of the US, and they were taking, I think, one person from the UK on it, and it's in a hospital in and begins with a H, like maybe Herefordshire, but then I don't know if that's from like Audrey Hepburn and like is it My Fair Lady? It begins with a H. It's a hospital, and it begins in a place beginning with a H. And I remember lying in bed on like either Saturday or Sunday night, and lying in the dark. In the dark is when I think, and lying there and going, I could sign up for it, but they only need one person. It has to be something with both of us. So I DIY looped us. I did it I got us both set up. I got all we needed, and I needed to try it first, and I was aiming to try it first for a week. I tried it first for like 5 hours, and it was like, no, this is far safer than not putting him on it. So but we have to both. It has to be for us both, because like I can't put Johnny through it first. I would be worried about putting him through it first early, but I can't put myself through it first early and leave him behind if it's all okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we just don't know, because it is a journey thing, like but they're taking somebody. There's other locations for it. It's on the trial finder on JDRF. Like there's a great tool there that you put in your criteria, and like you can get a notification then if a trial appears that fits your criteria for what you're interested in, and your type of diabetes and your age, like your different demographics and what yeah. But I was thinking about it, Tom, there and this weekend, and like if it was just me, I would fill that. I would have had the form filled in.
Yeah.
Would you?
Oh, I don't really know. Is it? I don't know, because if you can help be part of history and potentially, you know what I mean, that could be like research that is groundbreaking in getting us to the next step, I guess. But it's, I don't know, you know, you worry. I don't know if complications happen. You know what I mean? I don't know. I seriously, I don't know. But I think the good thing right now is these things are happening. You know what I mean? I'm sure they have been looking at the sort of clinical cures for years and years and years and years. We've had people like Roz who've come on, Martin, people like that who've had diabetes 40, 50, 60 years. And they said, look, they were promised cures come in 5 years, 5 years. I'm sure they were doing the sort of clinical stuff, maybe not to the extent now, because I think technology like is just gone through the roof, hasn't it? Like oh, are you still there?
Okay. Had I lost you?
No, I don't know what happened.
Is it me or is it you?
Is it me or is it you? But yeah, I lost my train of thought because the thing just crashed. But yeah, I don't know. I think the great thing is that there seems to be movement and there seems to be different things happening, and that is promising. And let's see where it gets to, isn't it?
And lots of specific things are there. Like there's a lot more specific things now rather than high level kind of. They're understanding more about the bigger things, like kind of like cardiovascular things. They're just getting a bit more in detail, which maybe makes the criteria a bit more specialized. But it's I think it's definitely a time to sign up for even notifications of trials that might be more specific to what you're interested in. Like I think that's where my poll question was about the what motivates you. Like is it something about your quality of life, or is it your like an A1C thing, or does it have to be both, or is it something totally different? Because and I know it depends on where you are at, and but it's not surprising that the majority need both.
Yeah,
I think I probably would do it, but then I mean, I was going to say selfishly, but it's not selfishly. It just hasn't happened. But like I don't have a young family to think about. Do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't feel like
a responsibility to let, like, if something went wrong. I mean,
I haven't got to worry about anyone else. Maybe that's where the selfishly came out. But like, yeah, it's just me. So it's not necessarily impacting people close to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to see, can I find where like that H hospital is?
While you're doing that, I see Flipper's jumped on, and also Glenn. I think it's Glenn, isn't it? Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Flipper.
Hello. I might have missed some of that chat because I was coming off of YouTube and onto Twitter and forgetting to disconnect my headphones and not working out why no noise was coming from my phone. I'm that technically advanced.
It's a process.
Yeah, exactly. But so I'm not sure if I got the thing. I think with clinical trials, I don't, even though there are some that are groundbreaking, actually they're built on the shoulders of the little ones. I think it's all incremental.
Yeah.
And so there might be a trial that seems, when you look at it from the outside, insignificant, or do you know, like, well, why are they doing that? But actually that could be a key component in the next step.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think there's very few, do you know, like big eureka things. It's like with the artificial pancreas. That wasn't one person thinking of that and one team just working on it and they got the answer. It was lots of different people who'd done lots of research on how insulin and different things affected the body, and step by step, and different trials for different things. And I know I answered things. I have taken part in 2 or 3 clinical trials that sort of like lasted a little while. Well, a couple of them did. And I think it's more if I'm interested in it. I don't necessarily have to see a benefit myself. In fact, I know with one of them, I wasn't going to see a benefit for myself, and that went on for 6 months. But it was interesting, the premise of it, and I could fit it in, and it wasn't too onerous on the amount of times I had to visit the research centre physically.
And it was interesting, though. Was it interesting to you?
Not particularly, not once I was doing it, but it wasn't
motivated?
beyond. Do you know what I mean? It was a bit like, from my point of view, because it was using a new system. And so all I really it was a bit like keeping an old diary, but on your phone and stuff. But it was also, if there was a problem, obviously you'd have to contact them. But most of the stuff you could do remotely, obviously, because they could access. You had a separate phone for it, and they could remotely access it and do what they needed to do, or do it and then download it to your phone. I can't remember now. Yeah.
And you didn't mind, you weren't in there to get anything new out of it, or to
no.
Were you just between projects?
No, but it's not like that. It was just something I was interested in. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of people say, oh, I'd like to do research trials, and you never hear of them. And I heard of this one, and I was sort of involved a bit, and I sort of chatted. Nick Oliver, that's where I met Nick Oliver. And I helped out. We didn't get the funding at that point, but they needed a patient.
Right.
That sounds worse than it is. But they need patients involved in if you're putting forward a research project, etc. And I think because I'm not one of their patients at all, that's I assume, a nice thing for them, because there's no you know, like if anybody questions your independence, well, I don't go to Nick. I'm not, I don't have to be nice to him if I don't want to be.
You know what? I found that as well, because actually, when I was travelling to London, and they weren't responsible for my care as such, and that made it feel like I could be more honest. Like if I didn't, find something helpful or whatever.
Sense. Yeah.
But what shocked me was that, as like a leading diabetes centre in England, they don't have access to CareLink.
Wow.
I was like, what? So I was having to download all of my data.
I wonder if that's because they're not a physically your clinician.
Well, no, because it's the same as any. If you swap codes, they can still have you have to give them access.
I know, but I just wonder if it was the ethics of it or something. Because trial, do you know, like research trials, that in some ways it seems more stringent than other things.
I mean, they had access to everything. I don't know how Dexcom works or whatever, but they had access to LibraLink and everything else.
Oh, okay.
For other people. When I started, I was using Libra, and they had access to that. I just thought it was really bizarre.
I think it's just different care boards and
things. Oh, you mean
like
the Medtronic one? Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't recognise the name of it. I thought you meant like patient access and that sort of thing.
No,
and no, I don't think they would.
No.
There's a whole like up until very, very, very recently, and I'm not even sure if it's already sorted, but like Belfast Trust, like the biggest city in Northern Ireland, didn't have Diasend or Clarity, so you couldn't. They couldn't even see your Dexcom if you were like going to the trouble of paying. Like they couldn't. They weren't enough people, or they weren't wasting any money in any of those. It was just Libra.
Because don't the clinics, they have to pay for access to that, don't they?
Yeah. I think it's a volume thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what it was, because oh god, they used to do it at my clinic used to be via Diasend, but now they go straight to Dexcom, so they don't use Diasend, I don't think, anymore.
And we are like pediatrics use glucose, or Omnipod 5 puts insulin and carbs into glucose. So they log into glucose, which is the new Diasend cable over Diasend. Yeah.
No, they've got access to that as well, but I don't use glucose, so.
So see, I'm not intrigued, because I'm thinking about myself standing in your shoes, and I probably would have done the same, because you're interested in just being part of
it was an interesting proposal, and I'm not saying it's one of those things. It was to do with bolusing, and that it was like an artificial intelligence, an AI boluser, so it learnt from what had happened previously. So it was one of those things where potentially in the future it could have gone into something else, like being part of something else. But of the actual trial, no, it wasn't that I was particularly having issues or anything with doing that. So, well, any more than anybody.
My one was measuring, like they would. I'm not even sure now. It feels like it was so long ago, but it was all through ultrasound, and they were looking at the vessels behind my eyes, or in my eyes, and like measuring like the pressure behind. I don't know what they were doing actually with the ultrasound on my eyeball. I can't remember now, because I didn't get any follow up of it, and I was called back, I think, a year after or so, after, like, for a follow up again. And but yeah, it was like the ultrasound for looking at the baby inside your tummy, but on my eyeball, and I could hear my own heartbeat in my eyeball.
But I think it's quite interesting, and I think that's the thing. So if I heard of a trial and it wasn't even to do with diabetes or something like that, because you've got to have a control group, but I would probably never be in a control group because I've got type 1. But if it was something I was sort of like just sounded interesting or whatever, I think as long as it's not too onerous on me of, I've not got to go to a clinic every other week, or do you know what I mean? Take a day off work every month or something like that.
Yeah.
Then if I was interested in whatever, I might give it a go. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think I necessarily personally have to benefit, but then do you benefit in the end? Because research goes in lots of different directions. So we all know, drugs that have been, or treatments that have been found for one condition will transfer over into others. Plus, you never know what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
But I think it's more hearing of them, though, isn't it? I think that's the thing that's a mystery to me. You have researchers saying they're desperate for people to take part, but then nobody's ever heard that they're looking for anybody.
Well, that's funny you should say that. The only reason I found out about the King's one was because I saw it on Twitter. And I don't know. I don't actually remember when I signed up to the JDRF thing, but I got an email today about 2 lots of research. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, I think there is a big thing about where does this stuff, where does it hear about it from?
And there's a few things where they say, oh, there's this, I can't remember the names of them now, that are like research finders. So you can enter your criteria and then see if there's any research projects that sort of fit those. But whenever I've gone in, A, they're really difficult to do. But B, even though I specified I've got type 1 diabetes, my age and whatever, then you come up with a load of trials that are either for type 2, or you have to be under 30, or they're actually finished, the trials, the recruitment finished 2 years ago. And I've never actually, they're just impossible. They just don't work, because I don't think anybody, maybe there's not the funding to actually put in and do it properly.
So there's the one on JDRF is like it's JDRF Global, like that it links you into, I think. So you get taken to a platform called Antidote. So I've only filled it in recently, like for this. I don't remember seeing.
I don't know if I've done that one, because that might not have been around. Because I sort of then got to the point of, if I hear of things, and the one that it was a friend who told me about it and said, "Oh, why don't you give this person a call and see and whatever," and did that, and then I ended up being on the trial as well, for the one with Nick. But it's sort of, I sort of am a bit like, how much out of my way am I going to go to find things? If it's not easy, I'll have a look at the JJRF one then, because it sounds like that's better than the ones that
and like
were there before.
You put in your age, and you put in like it's a nice progressive form that I felt it asked me good questions. Not too deep, so it keeps the criteria open, because like the criteria won't be that specific either. It's like,
and once you read in on the paper, it's always more specific than your search criteria, which is fine.
Yeah, and that's okay, because at least then, because your situation may change as well. So there's a good list of how are you on any of these medications, and it has like the SGLT2 things, and as well as like just insulin. So it's quite inclusive for a type 1.
I'll have to have a look at that.
Register.
I'll have a look and see. But I know the old, I can't remember. I don't think it was a DUK one. I think it was some national one or whatever. But it was just like, because I know I found research projects that I know I'd taken part in, and I know it ended because I'd taken part in it. And it was still there as a result. And you're like, well, I know that ended a year and a half ago.
It's like, you haven't updated this at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was no end date and stuff.
Oh.
But yeah, I think it's good. I think one thing, and I can see it's because it's a lot to take on when somebody's newly diagnosed. But a lot of research projects, or they were, are looking like for newly diagnosed people, or relatively newly diagnosed. But I wonder how many clinics would mention to somebody, "Oh, you'd probably find, if you were interested in taking part in research, go and have a look, because they might be there." I'm not saying they tout the research themselves, but I know sort of like a couple of people who've been diagnosed as adults, and when they hear of it, it's too late. And they're like, well, if somebody would have told me, I would have done that. But it's catching somebody at that early stage. And that's when they wanted, or they used to want, a lot of people, because like it's slowing down progression and stuff like that.
I'm looking at.
I find that a lot nowadays. And my advanced state of diabetes, and also my age, it's nobody ever wants to talk to me.
We'll talk to you, Tony. Well, on a Monday night, but don't call any other time.
Okay.
only between 8 and 10:30 on a Monday.
And I'll stay at least 500 yards away from you, like the court has ordered.
No.
That's interesting though, because I probably would have been one of those people who would have said, yeah, okay, whatever you like, when I was diagnosed. But what really put me off was then how hard, and I know it was just before COVID and everything, but I've still got a bit of a chip on my shoulder about it. And I know lots of people have, who've been diagnosed way longer than I have, about their access to education. And having to push for that, I was probably then less inclined to go looking for other stuff.
But I don't know if it's already been mentioned, but you probably find that if you went on, depending on what the trial was, you certainly get a health check when you go on any of these trials. Do you know, like you have checkups and this and that and the other that you've never had in clinic?
Yeah, it's a wee bit of I'm an
We are a
MOT.
bit.
There's things that I really don't want to know. Thank you very much.
Remember Chris Flipper, good old Chris, because
Yeah.
he was part of so many different clinical stuff, wasn't he? Bless him. I'd be interested to hear his.
But then you see, this is what gets me. You have certain people who are on the, and don't get me wrong, I'm not, good for them or whatever. But it seems that some research places just ask the same people again, and it's probably because they'll do it, which is great, and they're giving up their time and stuff because you don't get. I mean, you get expenses like travel and stuff, but you're not being paid as such. Like that, but then you sort of think, well, how diverse
It needs to be variety, don't we?
is it if you're with similar people? Do you know what I mean?
You've tweeted, Kes, which two things I'm quite interested in. You said about potential screening of children, so we'll come on to that in a sec, and also research into the level of adults who have been misdiagnosed. That would be so interesting.
Oh yes,
that would be really interesting.
Like I remember only in a meeting, I'm going to say only last year, or at least in the last 18 months, I asked over here, like, what are you doing to better diagnose adults when they present with symptoms of diabetes? Like, how are you better diagnosing them so we're not misdiagnosing people? And the answer was, like, we are now starting to test C-peptide. And I was like, starting? Huh?
It's crazy. And I've noticed over the last week or so, there's been a lot of conversations about it. And the amount of people who are being told, oh no, you've just got health anxiety. And then they're ended up in hospital in DKA because nobody's, I don't know why I'm laughing, it's not funny, but it's shocking. Like, how is that health anxiety? Because people aren't thinking outside the box.
But think on social media. I can't think of the names of them now, but over the years that I've been on social media, I know that there's been 2 or 3 people who, and this is a while back when Twitter was a friendlier place, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Not you guys, but just generally the ether when it was Twitter. And I know of a few people who had been diagnosed as type 2 and were coming on because they've been put on insulin straight away and stuff, or their stories of what was happening to them. And you're sort of saying, so this is happening, that. And in your mind, alarm bells are going like, this person's type 1. I know, I put money on it, but whatever. And so you've, like, between different people, not telling them that, but just like, oh, might be worth mentioning to your clinician if they tested, because that sounds very unusual. And they've been properly diagnosed.
And look at,
and you think it shouldn't be social media doing that.
No, exactly. And look at poor Jules. I mean, her story is horrific. She's had like 3 different diagnoses. Like, it's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
And what that does for people's mental health and quality of life, and you know what I mean, anxieties, it's not nice, is it? It's not nice at all.
But it's also what they can get, because once you're type 1, you can get an insulin pump, you can get CGM,
yes,
you can get this. Yes. Whilst you're type 2,
you can't get it now. No.
You're probably seeing the practice nurse at your local doctors, and lucky if you've got a Libre.
Yeah, particularly with my dad, who was type 1 for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years before he passed away last year.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there was certainly a kind of disconnect between the care he was getting and the care that I was getting as a type 1, and particularly, there were little things like, it would have been ideal for him to have had access to a Libre, which could have told him without having to do, as he got older, his fingers, having been a working man, his fingers were harder to finger prick, and so there were little things like access to a lever which would have increased his quantity of life, and it was quality of life, and so there were all little things, and certainly it was at the GPs. It was literally trying to pull teeth, trying to get him seen by his practice nurse and stuff. And so there is a gulf. Having seen that firsthand, there is a gulf of care between, although we moan as type 1s, about sometimes going to clinic or certainly type 2s don't have, in my opinion, as much care as type 1s do.
100%. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll bring James in a sec. We have Ken and Helga, who will be having a type 2 chat, and I think it'll be really, really interesting to hear their story.
Really looking forward to that, because we all have our aspect of our condition, and certainly, as I said, having Dad's experience as a type 2, it was it was a world of difference from what I was going through in terms of medications and care and
they tell you nothing when you've type 2.
I was going to say there's no education, let's be honest.
Your blood results are normal. This is what riles us, like when they tell us like our A1C from the GPs, like you're normal, or not you're normal, like
take some tablets now, and it was only until he went DKA a couple of years ago, and then went on to basal, and it was only then that the care kind of started to, but it had to get to that point at which he went DKA, and he went DKA a couple of times, and but then it was an eye opener, certainly in terms of the other side, and we talk about, do you have the good diabetes or the bad diabetes, and so there is no such thing, and certainly, but it is how care is provided to type 2s rather than type 1s. It's but again,
totally agree there, Tony.
James, hello.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
All good, thank you. You all right?
Oh, yeah, good, thank you. I was listening just quietly on YouTube. I was like, just doing some work whilst listening away. And I heard about the comment saying about the best test for confirming type 1 is C-peptide. So actually, within the first 3 years, C-peptide isn't really
changes.
The best test to do.
Yeah, it changes.
Yeah, because people will still have some beta cell function within the first 3 years, and even sometimes a little bit even after that as well. So really within the first 3 years, it should be antibodies that are tested. And generally, if a person who's suspected type 2 goes onto insulin in the first 3 years of a diagnosis, they should suspect type 1. Just
if they end up on insulin very fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if within 6 months, because you would start to query things like LADA or type 1 itself. I mean, they found that over 40% of people over the age of 30 diagnosed with type 2 diabetes are actually misdiagnosed with type 2 and actually have type 1 diabetes. So if anyone's to say again.
What percentage, James?
About 40.
Wow.
Doesn't surprise me though. Really doesn't surprise me.
No.
And like 20 to 25% of those who have type 2 are on insulin, aren't they? And I remember like seeing a presentation where they said like it was 1 in 5, so 20% and end up on insulin within 5 years. So that's still below that 40%, though, like that are kind of you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that well, many who I see in clinic with complex type 2 diabetes, we would say, who've had hospital admission due to cardiovascular events, etc. We see a high number on insulin, and many of them, not many, but some of them, we've had to test antibodies, and first initially identified C-peptide as well being quite low, and enough of a threshold to consider for query type 1 diabetes. And for me, for confirming it, and I always get consultant just to give the nod, is I'll always try and check your antibodies and your C-peptide just to be sure. And even at the time of diagnosis for type 1, even within those 3 years, initially on presentation, there's about a 10% chance of a person having negative antibodies if they, for someone that's got symptoms. So there are some situations where a person can have, negative antibodies, and then person might go, oh, actually, you've not got type 1 because you've got negative antibodies, when actually they can later on be positive. And if one's negative, you should test another, just to be sure.
How many are they testing? Like having your antibodies tested isn't cheap, and it takes a while to set up to
So
exit,
some may just do initially the kind of the best one to do first off is GAD. And then if that's negative, you should text. I can't remember the full names of them, but it's the IA2, and then ZNTA is the next one.
Isn't the GAD one the one that appears first? That's the one that is activated in the first 6 months of as your baby, even if
that's the most reliable generally of all tests. So what we tend to do when we have a diagnosis is do a broad spectrum across. So we'll do GAD, ZNTA, IA2, just so we've ticked off everything, and then we've identified if one's positive or negative at that point. But the key thing is, someone's got symptoms and you're suspecting type 1, but you've not got a confirmation of diabetes. You wouldn't necessarily say you've definitely got, we think you've got this, or we think you've got that. You kind of say, look, we're not sure what type at the moment is, but we're going to treat you down the lines of this because this is what your body needs at this time. But it was just to come in on the point where it mentioned about someone saying C-peptide is the thing to use for diagnosis within the first, just to say that within the first 3 years, it's not the most reliable.
Yeah, I know for me, when I heard it as well, it was just one, we're only starting to do something to test, and two, it was the cheap thing. And it was like, we're doing something, but we're not really thinking about it that much either.
No, and it could actually create more confusion for both the clinician and
that makes
the
sense to me
healthcare
now,
professional sometimes as well, because they may be thinking, oh, actually, you've got a high amount of C-peptide. So if anyone doesn't know, so C-peptide is basically an enzyme that's produced when your natural insulin is being produced. So if you've got a raised C-peptide, it means that you've got natural insulin being produced. So if you've got a low C-peptide, so we generally say less than 200 is an indication of type 1 diabetes. More than 600 is an indication for type 2 diabetes. In between that is kind of the grey area. And that's where we see some patients, even with type 1 diabetes, in that grey area. If it's less than 200 at the time of diagnosis, you've got a good indication, but generally you want to have kind of your antibodies. That's what the recommendation is from the American Diabetes Association as well. Kind of just do your antibodies first. Just get that ticked off.
I really appreciate that, James, for coming on and sharing. So on the 30th of November 2006, when I was diagnosed, would they have tested my antibodies or the C-peptide? What would they have done to identify my type 1?
So I think antibody testing and C-peptide testing, I don't know too much back then, but I think it was it was rarer at that point, I think. And to be honest, NICE guidance was just recommending to go by presentation on symptoms, which they still have a similar criteria at the moment. So it's if you are 25 or less with a BMI, if you present with symptoms and high glucose levels, with ketone levels that are raised, then you kind of give us an indication, a bit similar to my story as well. So you have all those indications, then you can kind of go off a diagnosis of type 1 from that clinical presentation. So there's many people that may have not had the test because they were going by NICE guidance on the presentation of the person at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that other people may have had
me
that
too.
as well. Yeah,
me too.
yeah.
That's really interesting. I just had a look on mine, and so for 2019, and the only one that they tested, so there's DNTA, IA2, and GAD, and they only did the GAD.
And was that positive at the time?
It just gives me a number, which doesn't mean a lot to me.
I can't give specific clinical
No,
advice.
I know,
That's
but that's the only one that they did. So it's interesting, though.
Yeah.
Maybe I can say something about that, possibly. I mean, I guess I fit James's criteria, diagnosed at 51. And I had they tested my antibodies and my C-peptide. My C-peptide, they tested 3 times and it was low and then came back up again, once my A1C started to drop. And I'm mildly GAD positive, but I'm very, very insulin sensitive. So from the clinical point of view, I guess I fit the T1, diagnosed with A1C of 130. And, I think I was at that time to come down to in the 50s of A1C, I was taking less than 20 units of insulin a day. So very insulin sensitive, but age against me for being T1, but a family history, mildly GAD positive, but only mildly GAD positive in the other antibodies negative. So yeah, I suppose, from that point of view, for me, I guess mine is a proper larger diagnosis, but yeah, and I've still obviously got some residual insulin, even now at 4 years down the line.
And Gillian, have you any other, it was only one mildly positive?
Yep.
Mildly.
Just GAD, mildly positive.
Because I'm just even remembering what Lauren, is it Dr. Lauren Quinn or Professor Lauren Quinn? I can't remember, from Elsa's study, and she was saying that once you have 2 positive, that you are likely to develop type 1 in the rest of your life, and like you're just touching on a positive on 1, and yet like you do need insulin, and it has affected your body, and like you had reason to go to be checked. And
well, I guess what Jane said, I mean, I was checked because I had a cardiovascular incident.
Of course, right, yes.
So I had a stroke because I had high blood sugar.
Yes. Oh my word. Gosh, isn't our bodies fascinating?
So all of those things. So, but I mean, I was fortunate because both my GP and the consultants I saw in AMU knew my history. Whereas when I saw the endocrinologist properly, he was like, no, you're not going to be type 1, you're going to be type 2. So the endocrinologist was a skeptic, whereas my GP and the consultant in AMU, who was my dad's retired endocrinologist, were both like, that looks a bit suspicious. We think you'll be type 1.
Gosh, I can see why you so trust this person. Like,
yep, why I don't trust endocrinologists, because A, they don't see me, and B, they look at me and go, no, it can't be that.
Yeah.
Gillian, a question.
It's kind of interesting.
Gillian, a question about high blood sugar and your stroke. My dad had a catastrophic stroke, and I reckon that was to do with his cardiovascular. but could it have been related also in part to his, his high HbA1c?
I couldn't tell you that, Tony. I don't know, but I do know because I did some research. Because I was young to have a stroke, they did every test under the sun. They kept saying, "Oh, it'll be this that caused your stroke." Oh, no, actually, that's fine. Oh, it'll be this. No, it's not. It's fine. And then I did some research, and they said, eventually said to me, well, if your blood sugar was as high as yours was, your blood viscosity will have more than doubled, and therefore, and therefore, that if you've got narrow passages in your brain, if your arteries are really small, the little ones, then they can get the thick blood just won't go through them, which is probably why my stroke symptoms cleared very quickly, because I went on to insulin and my blood sugar came screaming down.
Okay.
So that I was fortunate that most of the damage was reversed very quickly. Within 4 weeks, the big problem had gone. So
and how are your eyes? How are your eyes when you came down so fast? I can't remember how you've talked about that in the past.
It was all very complicated because my stroke symptom was quadrantanopia. So I lost my lower left peripheral vision.
Okay.
That disappeared. So that's what they were treating me for to begin with. So I was bumping into everything. It was kind of a bit of a nightmare, really. But then that started to resolve itself. But then I couldn't focus very well, and I lost my colour saturation. I'm like, well, what's all this about? Is this related to the stroke? This is really scary. And nobody told me anything. And it wasn't until about 6 months later I discovered that because my A1C dropped so quickly, that was the change of glucose that was causing that.
Oh, did that improve then over time?
Yeah, no, that was fine. I mean, about 3 months afterwards, 3 to 4 months afterwards, it all cleared up.
Crikey Moses.
But nobody told me. Yeah, I kept saying, my vision's all blurred. To the stroke people, though, because I wasn't seeing the diabetes people. Yeah, I didn't see anybody for diabetes. So it was only, when I read the JDRF, to the point book that I got when I had a formal type 1 diagnosis, and went, that's what I had.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, fortunately, I didn't have any retinopathy. So dropping my A1C from can't remember, 130 to 45 in 3 months.
My goodness.
And on, 20, I think I started on 20 units of insulin, and by the time I got to 45, I was down to like 6 or 7 units a day. So I need insulin, but only a tiny amount.
Yeah. And I remember when Johnny was diagnosed, Gillian, and it got to the point where he needed less than a unit of background but the half extra was too much.
You probably want to put your fingers in your ears. What am I, 4 and a bit years in? I take 2 units of basal.
Wow.
So I definitely fit James's criteria of, if you measured my C-peptide today, it would still be it wouldn't be high, because obviously I need some insulin, but it's not going to be hard. Yeah. It's not because I'm obviously very insulin sensitive. Yeah. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. And it makes sense what James is saying about, even like, because I know with Johnny then too, like, because he you could see the insulin starting to work again, like when he was in honeymoon, and you're in a I suppose it's because it's slow onset like that.
Yes,
like just a prolonged honeymoon, like,
and a lot of exercise. I think that helps too.
Yeah, doesn't it help us all?
Yes.
Yeah, gosh, it's so fascinating. And I don't know, the names of diabetes, like, they don't help us, like, really, because it's like it's so different even within type.
And I think as well, there's all that thought process about people. We should never compare how much insulin one person takes to another person takes, because we have no idea how much insulin somebody's naturally producing anyway.
Yeah, I had that a while ago from a GP who said that, you're on a lot of insulin, and at the time it was quite accusational, but compared to now, I'd be saying, having had that experience, like life, I'd be saying, compared to who?
Yeah.
you know, and
I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying, "Oh, I'd like to try something to help improve my insulin sensitivity." Yeah, that's absolutely fine. But I, ultimately, sometimes I feel almost like a fraud because I don't take very much insulin. But if I don't take it,
you do get those higher blood sugars, and you do get all those like your A1C like rockets up.
Yes,
and that was what got us pumped with Johnny.
Yeah, there were people on the. There was a guy on the Daphne course that I did. Sorry, the Bertie course, not Daphne. Bertie course, who was on metformin because it just helped. You know, he was on a really, really high dose, and it helped kind of. You know, it helped with him, and so there is no. Ultimately, there is no right or wrong, and certainly secondary care gets that. But it doesn't happen when primary care, you know, your GP says, ooh, lot of insulin, that is. Well, okay, thanks, doc.
Whereas it was my GP who said quite clearly, says, oh my goodness, you're incredibly insulin sensitive. We're going to have to be really careful. But then I'm very fortunate that he is a diabetes expert. So, yeah, I think it works both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah. But you're like look at us in the community, like there's some that know loads and there's some that don't, and they don't need to know, like even though they have whatever type they have, and they just don't feel like they need to know information. If you're working in a medical field, you don't have to maybe your specialty is in something else too. Although if you're seeing somebody, Tony, like your GP, I don't know, in my practice, there's somebody who's like a diabetes specialist who would see those who have diabetes specifically. I'm just trying to think.
Get that in my doctors as well.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I think
in England as well, you can find out almost exactly how many people who have type 1 at your GP surgery if you want to know. Yeah. I know there are 29 at mine.
Oh, how do you find out, Gillian? Is it
well,
just through the
I know there are
prescription?
29 because I could tell it's something close to 30 because of the audit, the diabetes audit goes right down to GP surgeries and tells you the number of people with T1 and T2 in each age category.
Ah, yes, of course.
So you can add it up.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have that in Northern Ireland.
No, you don't. But I know in England you can find out. So you can find out how many. Yeah. So I think my GP surgery has about 5,500 patients, and 29 have type 1.
We can see how many Libras are prescribed per GPs over here. So you could get a
kind of work it out
ballpark
roughly.
figure. Then
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, to you know, particularly with my GP, I was incredibly blessed that my previous GP before she retired was incredibly good, and so and to a lesser extent nowadays it's they realise, particularly with my dad's specialist nurse and the same nurse who sees me, there is a deference to, I've had this condition for 45, 46 years and I'm under secondary care, and so there is it generally tends to be just a feet and a kind of weighing thing, and then that's it. But it now and again, so you've probably seen my tweets over the past week or so about, now and again there's little things like they're putting on a yearly review of insulin and stuff like that, and for Christ's sake, I ain't gonna.
Except that they do. You have to sometimes you have to acknowledge that they get QRF points for doing that, so they might want them.
No, but then it comes down to the experience, doesn't it? It's the and the time of doing that review, and the fact that
they can make it easy for you, to get the points.
It is, and I understand all those points and stuff like that, but ultimately you can be doing that on my statins and my blood pressure stuff and anything else I'm having done.
Isn't yours all done? Mine's all done together. They do everything in one review.
It seems to be, but it tends to be a bit scattergun now. So they've taken the review off some things on my repeats,
Okay.
not
Whereas
others.
mine's all done in your birthday month. They just do everything in one go.
Yeah. Well, I've had with my stuff, without wanting to bore everybody stupid, because if you follow me on Twitter, because I'm. But there has been things that have been taken off review that are no longer on review, but other things are, and there don't seem to be any rhyme or pattern to cut. So it's a frustrating process. And so, which means that at the moment, I'm going away Thursday morning. I'm having to physically email the surgery, and it's ridiculous. It's just like there should be flags on medications to say primary care, secondary care, but
I suppose for me though, my insulins were all initiated by primary, not by secondary care. So maybe I'm just a bit different.
Yeah, maybe, Gillian. I mean, ultimately, I don't, but there should be that ability to flag repeats, as review, and flag other repeats as not review. It should be a granular thing, shouldn't it?
Although it's interesting, isn't it? Because so I take Traceba, and last year Traceba stopped being available in pens.
Yeah,
you had to have it in cartridges, and if you didn't have a review, you'd have got to the point of trying to order it and not get it, because if you'd said I don't want that reviewed by my GP practice, whereas my GP was going through everybody who has Traceba prescribed by them and checking and transferring everybody across.
Yeah.
So it works both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, through my practice nurse who's put me over onto the cartridges, but not the pens. And it's real. Again, it comes down to the individual. How are we lucky that we're in a really good practice, or are we lucky or unlucky that we're not in a particularly good practice? And again, I understand that it's been great for you, but it's not.
I know lots of people don't have.
Yeah, it's not been great, as you've probably seen. Anyway, sorry, disrailing.
Would you?
Sorry, we've got rather off techs and trials. Sorry,
yeah, I know. I was going to hit you back with a question about trials. And would you have you taken part in any trials, Gillian? Or
well, I'd have liked to have done when I was newly diagnosed, but of course I didn't see secondary care, so nobody said anything about anything.
Yeah, you might not have either, though.
I mean, I'd also been diagnosed 6 months before COVID, was probably ruled out doing anything of that type. So I've done things that are not diabetes related. So I volunteered and have done some testing of an app for medication reviews and things to give them some clues. And I'm currently waiting. I'm due to go down to Nottingham next week to take part in MenoCog, which is a cognitive thing about looking at the effects of menopause. But you have to have not been on HRT, and I fit in that box, so I qualify. So I get to try that. I get to go and do some cognitive testing. So we'll see how that goes. Does my brain still work?
Oh, and so for you to take part in that, what was the motivation? Was it that you fitted the criteria, that it was interesting?
I'm just curious. I just think if you can contribute, it's an altruistic thing almost, isn't it? I mean, I think. Philippa was talking about that before, that to a certain extent sometimes you feel, well, if I can contribute, I should. If I've got the time, and the wherewithal to do it, that might benefit somebody coming along in the future, well, maybe I should.
And and if you can do it, and if it does fit in within your your setup, and you can fit it in, and
And I'm going to troll down to Nottingham, which is about 2 3/4 hours drive away, to do an hour and a half test, and hopefully see a diabuddy as well. But that's on the side. But I can do that.
Yeah.
And I know not many people can.
Do you have any expectations for it?
No.
Out of it?
No, I'm just curious about what they might test.
To how they what they will use to get their endpoint.
I'm wondering whether I might wreck their statistics.
Why?
Well, like you, I'm an engineer, so they wanted to do. I think it's something about pattern recognition and and I think they wanted to prove that through menopause that changes. I probably sit at the top end of the spectrum anyway.
You're like quite logical. You kind of hold steadfast to things.
Yes, and I do a lot of pattern recognition in my everyday job.
Yeah. So you will be trying to find a pattern in this process to follow.
Yes.
For yourself anyway. Oh, I'm actually intrigued even more now. Yeah.
So I'll let you know how it goes.
Oh, I look forward to hearing. I look forward to hearing. And like even like, is it just a qualitative? No, it's not going to be qualitative because they will be quantitatively measuring.
Yeah, no, it's something you do. X number of online tests of some kind. There's a pre-questionnaire, a post-questionnaire, and you do some sort of computer-based testing.
Are they measuring A1C? Are they doing anything?
No,
like
it's
that?
not to do with diabetes.
Oh, it's not diabetes. Oh, right, okay.
It's all about menopause, really, and perimenopause.
Yeah, okay, I missed that. Sorry. And
So sorry, boys. It's for the girls only.
Yeah.
Well, given that a lot of diabetes research
Well, yeah, big groundbreaking things really. I think sometimes it can be on a specific treatment, sometimes it can be on a specific, a certain change in whole treatment options for a certain, if we're thinking diabetes, certain way of managing a condition altogether. So like, for example, I don't know if you've ever heard, but a good one is DCCT and EDIC. And if you've not heard of that one, they had an intensive arm and a standard care arm. So in that,
I have it up here actually. I have it up here because I was chatting to Donnie about it today. Like 1983 to 2013.
So they had a 10-year intervention, and then I think it was 10 years, and then they had the follow-up. So the follow-up continued at that point, and they wanted to look at standard of care at that time, and that was urine testing with twice daily insulin, I think, compared to the intensive arm at the time, which was, I think, at least 4 times a day finger prick testing, and then basal bolus, so long acting with rapid acting, plus education for the person.
And seen every 3 months as well, compared to being seen annually.
Compared to the standard of care at the time. And they found that the A1C dropped, and they tried to aim for the A1C for 6.5%, but they couldn't get it to that point, and that the average was 7%, and one of the barriers was hypos, but they didn't have a decrease of quality of life. And then if you ever look at it, and you'll see like the chart of the comparison of the I think it's the A1C comparison, And in the middle point, it all comes together, and they realize the reason why the intensive arm and the standard care arm, or whatever they call it, forgotten at this time, the reason why they come together is because they learnt at that time that doing the intensive arm, so having more testing, having your more insulin that's more precise for your body, so long acting and quicker acting, as well as education, makes a difference. And then that's why they saw both the intensive arm and the standard of care arm come together and be on the same arm altogether. But initially you saw this immediate drop, and that's because of the intensive arm. So that's one example that just shows how beneficial research can be and how it's changed practice. For example, that's one that has led to, I don't know, carbohydrate counting being a big fundamental part of what we do. Absolutely. And like there's a really good one that that look at data of people that's newly diagnosed. I can't remember the study exactly, I'll have to find it, but they use, I think, biobank data, I believe, and they look at people who initially diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I found the evidence around honeymoon period, and they identified that those who are under the age of 20 have a lower chance of going through honeymoon period, because the more aggressive of the diagnosis, so the more aggressive of the beta cells being destroyed, it leads to a lesser chance of a person having a honeymoon period. And there's a higher chance of a person over the age of 20 who's male, who and a lower weight, having a better chance of achieving a honeymoon period. And someone mentioned about exercise being proven. So that's, I think XTOD did a research on that, and they found that doing exercise actually helps to prolong the honeymoon period. So that's just some examples. And in type 2 diabetes, probably the big one was the UK PDS study. And that was done started in the late 70s, I think. And they found that metformin was the big finder in that, as well as managing blood pressure. And I would say to patients that, especially to those living with type 2, that diabetes has two other best friends: your heart, so your blood pressure, and your cholesterol. And where one goes, the other follows. So we have to look at not just the glucose levels, but other things as well. And that's all stemmed by research. So if you can involve yourself in research, you may not see the difference at that point in time. And you may be on a standard of care arm or a placebo arm, but it's a point of, you're involving yourself in potentially making a difference in the future. Yeah. And sometimes research isn't to find out always, can that make a positive change? Sometimes the findings of a specific research find that that outcome wasn't positive, and actually it led to a negative change. So like one example was the Accord study, which they found low. So there's a U-shape to HbA1c, and they think they had a target less than 6.5%, I believe. And they found that achieving that for that target audience, I think they were older, I'm not sure, but they found that achieving it too low for a number of them actually led to an increase in mortality risk for some patients.
This is with type 2 diabetes?
Yes.
The Accord, yeah. And
so in some studies, even though there's negative findings, that actually leads to really informative results. So it's not always a bad thing that something happens. Research is basically information finding. So if you want to get involved because it makes a difference.
Yeah, I know. And I was intrigued actually recently where I listened to Roman Avorka talk about hybrid closed loop at early diagnosis, and to see if it preserved C-peptide or like insulin production, but it didn't. I think is what the outcome was, like that it made no difference.
Yeah, I think that just it shows that not all, even though you've got a hypothesis, so there'll be a hypothesis of what you're trying to find out with a specific bit of research. I don't conduct research, I'd more review it, particularly in my education role, but they will try and find out if X manages that. It's the Accord study looked at blood pressure, not HbA1c. So it's blood pressure too low. But there is a study which found which looked at HbA1c. I can't remember it specifically. It may have been in frail older patients at the time, but you're right. In some studies, they, it doesn't always give the prediction that it was there initially, like what you just mentioned with hybrid closed loop. But we obviously know the benefit that hybrid closed loop has. Like, for example, the NHS pilot that came out, I think they found that the expectation of H1C drop is between, I think, 0.3 and 1.5% or something. But that's only a minuscule of the benefits of hybrid closed loop. I think one of the biggest ones they found is around quality of life and sleep, for example. It's just,
exactly.
Yeah, and that has a massive one. So, and when we're thinking about research, we're not just thinking about, biomedical data. We're looking at, not just those quantitative aspects, we'll look at qualitative aspects as well. So when you're doing a questionnaire or something.
Is that, how new is that, like, to like looking at the qualitative, James?
It's been around a long time, and there's a number of ways that one would do it, really. We at the Leicester Diabetes Centre have a number of qualitative studies. Yeah, absolutely. And there'll be a specific reason for a specific type of questionnaire that's been conducted. And yeah, it's all for certain reasons, and they have to be coded sometimes, lots of the times, and there'll be certain coding systems, and it's all in a research methodology. And you've got to think, with research, there's the time that a person's gone in or able to start a piece of research, there's been a whole long history around, the bid for the research, because it costs money to do research in many cases. Sometimes it would need ethical considerations. They have to go to a panel to make sure that it's suitable. And so you have to there's a lot of barriers and hurdles to doing research in the first place. I'm probably one of the lesser of the experts around research. There's some very clever people out there in research compared to me.
Everybody has their speciality, and within their speciality too. But not all trials do include the assessment of patient-reported outcomes.
No, not all do. Not all do, and it depends on the study that is happening and what they're wanting to find out. It all depends on what's going on. So if you're looking at research, I think the first thing is to know, if you want to be involved in research, look at what's around, what's out there. Certainly ourselves at the Diabetes Centre, we have a number of bits of research which are not just open just for our local patients, but also nationally as well. So you can go onto the Leicester Diabetes Centre website and find out, like we've got, certainly for local patients, we've got one which is an M3 study, which is for young people under the age of 45 diagnosed with type 2. And there was a mention about speaking to patients in clinic. So I had one who was diagnosed at the age of 39 with type 2 diabetes. And I said, do you want to consider going on to this clinical trial? Because they're looking at this X, Y, and Z. So then I referred them. And then when they had a further discussion with the people in the research team, they realized, actually, I don't want to go forward with the piece of research. So I always think that any chance or opportunity you can have, it's always worth thinking about, really, because it makes a difference in the long run.
Yeah.
In some form of a way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, thanks. Like, I think, like, when they're not included in any piece, like if the trial is about an intervention for any person who has diabetes, if it's to do with the person, we self-manage, like, for such a percentage of the time ourselves. Like, we see medical professionals, is it 0.03% of the time, and like, if they don't include the assessment of the patient reported outcomes within the trial, how is it even meaningful research? Like, is there meaningful research without including it, is maybe more the accurate question. That's probably where I'm presenting on, and I can't see where it could be when it's about diabetes.
No, I see where you're coming from. I guess for example, treatment arms, so like a certain type of tablet, for example, if they're doing a piece of research on, the first thing they'll want to do is, in a lot of the time, they'll want to make sure that it's safe to be used. So they'll look at, has there been no substantial increase in death compared to placebo for like standard of care, for example. And then they'll want to look at, if it's safe, does it improve someone's cardiovascular health? Does it reduce the risk of cardiovascular events? So that's a situation where patient or qualitative outcomes may not always be embedded, but if they can be included, it's obviously an added bonus, and they do include that in some studies. I know they had, I believe in the study with dapagliflozin, I think when they looked at the DAPA-HF study, I think they included both the quantitative and the qualitative together, where they looked at, I think it's the New York heart failure, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but part of that is around asking the patient certain questions related to how heart failure is affecting their life. For example, how, do you wake up in the night? How many pillows do you sleep behind your back? Those sorts of things. And they found that the treatment had an effect on that aspect. I think in DAPA-HF, a positive outcome. So that was a really good study, because it identified that taking dapagliflozin actually reduced the risk of death for people with heart failure. And they had another study which identified that it prevented the risk of heart failure occurring for people with type 2 diabetes. But then one of the studies obviously looked at that qualitative aspect as well. But yeah, I hope that answered it, where sometimes it's all right. I was just saying that sometimes it's just looking at that raw data initially, seeing if something is safe, particularly when it comes to a pharmaceutical aspect.
I see. And is it still okay, like to not include the person, like even at that safety level? Like, is there not still things?
As I said, it does add to the benefit of a study if you're including that sort of information, and it depends on what data they're trying to gather at that time. I guess one of the key ones is obviously asking the person if they're experiencing any adverse events from a certain medication or treatment. And I don't know, it depends on the type of study and what questions they want to ask them. What do they want to get out of it?
Yeah, and I think as well, like that, like I know you have your questionnaires, and there's different questionnaires for different types of studies and things, but Bill Polanski said, like, they're conversation starters. So in those types of even those types of safety studies, those beginner ones, you have conversation starters, like that gather information to find new or find undisclosed, or to give people space to talk about the things that others don't even know that they're having issues with, that come out within the trial, that will bring on other things, because like they are all stepping stones. I think it's not including them doesn't make it as meaningful as it could be. And even though you don't necessarily have a questionnaire for that type of thing, or it's standardized, it's space, it's just the space for the person to be validated and have the different challenges that they're having, and then the assessment of them happens in a more, or we have the tools to mine that type of data now too, easier.
Oh yeah, 100%. And sometimes they'll have they'll do a clinical trial, for example, and they'll bring out I don't know, hopefully they'll present the evidence in a journal article or something, but sometimes they'll have it where they've done such a comprehensive piece of work where they'll show the data around mortality risk, and then in another article they'll show the data around I don't know, quality of life or whatever it is that time. So they'll have multiple things because, you know, to try and talk about it all in one sitting is quite difficult, and you know, it just depends on what they're trying to get out of it. But I know for one study, I think that they're doing at the Diabetes Centre, I think Pratik's leading that, they look at the Radiant study, so that deals with CGM, and I think they've embedded diabetes distress, I think, as well. So again, that's that sort of embedment with, I think it's the Radiant study, I'm not sure, but that's an example where they'll embed both together. But yeah, I always think that the more things you can get out of research, the better it is.
That one, Radiant, is recruiting people who have been diagnosed with diabetes but don't fit the usual characteristics of type 1 or type 2. Is that right?
No, so Radiant is a multi-centre study that looks at the use of Omnipod 5 and Freestyle Libre 2, I think. It's an ongoing study that's happening as well. But I think with that they're using two types of, or different methods anyway. I'm not 100% sure, but you can find out certain, like there's ways that you can look at pending or currently happening pieces of research. Just you could do a simple Google. I can't remember exact websites, but there's areas you can look at where they're looking at research at the moment, or there's a research trial going on at the moment, and this is what they're trying to find out: what's the method, what's the timeline, when they're going to finish it. So there's even the research that's going on now. You can find out what the aims are of this study and when the findings will.
I know what you're talking about, and I can't remember what it is. Like, it's like a centralized place where they're all put.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly the name of it, but my colleagues certainly would be able to. But yeah, there's lots of places you can go to look at research, and for anyone that's wanting to get involved, you know, you could always look at your main centres, but I'd always speak to your endocrinologist or whoever to find out, you know, what's happening there, or even using these spaces, for example, and asking, because Twitter's a really good place for science. And you know, you see many professors come on Twitter and stuff, and I'm sure there's people that's willing to help and offer advice. That's for sure.
Yeah, do you know what? This has been really fascinating, this chat. Like, I just see the time now; it's 20 to 11. But
I'll be quiet now.
You know, it is all. No, it's all like you say. Why would you not as well? I've got loads of food for thought about next week, just in how it's just getting involved, like, and like Flipper said earlier on. If anybody else has anything else they want to add, Tom, are you around there, or are you on the floor, like high as a kite from all those matchsticks you were eating?
The matchmaker's
he's not there either.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm here.
Sorry.
Here he comes.
Yeah, I'm good.
Here he comes.
Brilliant chat. No, I'm good. I'm 8.8. It was dropping a bit. It was dropping arrow going down. But it seems to have leveled out. So we'll see.
You needed them.
I did, by the looks of it, actually, because I was at around 12, and then I got hungry and I thought, why not? And then time and happiness, after all. And then, yeah, I kind of ate half the box, which I knew Tony kind of said it'll happen.
And once you start, what's that saying? Once you start, you can't stop.
Yeah. But it's quite sickly after a bit, though, isn't it? I don't.
Yeah.
I've had really chocolate in a while, actually. I've really fancied it. So yeah, I obviously guess needed it. Brilliant chat, amazing. Thank you so much for hosting, Kes, obviously, as well. Really interesting chat, and that's why That's why we do it. That's why we set up Diabetes Chat and connecting up and having James come on and everyone come on tonight and sharing their experiences, clinical trials, awesome stuff. And also some nice messages. Ken, who's still listening in, said, let's have a look. Let me get the translator on because Ken is from Tokyo and says various topics related to diabetes as discussed mainly in the UK. This opportunity to listen not only to people with diabetes but also medical professionals and researchers. And it's great. Ken's joined the last couple of weeks. It's nice for Ken to be tuned in, and it's nice to see Diabetes Chat getting somewhere else on our map. Last bit really for me is Kes putting up a poll up, so check that out next day. She's put, what sort of research trials would you like to see happening? Mental health quality of life is number 1. Misdiagnosis, number 2. Number 3, exercise and sport, or 4, other. Have a look at that. Add your thoughts to it. But Mary, thank you so much. I hope you found it really interesting, because I know for you're so, your role at JDRF, data and stuff like that, you know what I mean? It really fascinates you and it's interesting, isn't it? And obviously your presentation next week. So first and foremost,
I love all the numbers side, but like when it comes to like living with diabetes,
it's more than a number, isn't it?
You need the numbers.
Yes.
But you don't want to see them.
No.
And you want to have all the other things all in place, and then the numbers come. Like I see where the numbers are, and I just minimize them, but not because they overwhelm me, but because I can't really do that much about them. Like either, it's like Kes saying, like that, like the less she gave focus to the numbers, the better things.
I think because of the I'm like you, Mary, because of the job I do, you know, I'm such a data freak, you know, numbers mean a lot to me. And so, you know, sometimes that's a really great thing most of the time, but sometimes it's not. And so, you know, you know, data is king, isn't it? You know, and any form of data that you can use to kind of guide your decisions is a good thing. In terms of your presentation, I know, you know, the conversations we've had recently, I know you're worried about your ATD presentation, but you're gonna absolutely nail it. You know, all of diabetes.
Say a little novena for me, will you? A little rosary or something. A little Hail Mary.
Yeah, we know, you know, the team know that you're going to absolutely nail.
I hope I don't let us down.
You won't, Mary. You'll be absolutely incredible.
You'll smash it, Mary.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
And as soon as it's finished,
and if you don't, we'll have our notes and we'll let you know where you've gone wrong.
Thanks.
We'll have a yellow notepad with the pros and cons and a line and a pen, and we'll write. Not all.
I see when you did this. If you'd only done it this way.
No, it's incredible.
Oh, thanks, guys.
So
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah. So obviously, ATD kicks off the 6th to the 9th of March. We are literally coming to the end of February this week. When do you fly out, Mary? Sunday.
Tuesday morning. No,
Tuesday morning.
Tuesday to Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about Philippa? Is she heading out Tuesday?
She's out Wednesday.
Cool. So hopefully we'll see all your tweets and everything and enjoy it. It's a magical thing, and I'm gutted I'm not out, but hopefully next one or whatnot. So yeah, ATD, watch out on Twitter, social media, Facebook, all that, all are going on.
DDoc Voices, Diabetes Chat on tour.
Check them out. DDoc Voices, just hashtag DDoc or DDoc Voices, and you'll see all the sort of incredible stuff coming out, all the conference, all the research from.
I'm going to bring my t-shirt, Claire, as well.
Yes, do it. Take it.
DChat t-shirt.
Send Philippa a message. Get her to wear hers as well.
Did everybody? Did everybody get the email about Tad saying this email does not constitute an offer of place, but telling us we're in the ballot? Oh God! I saw it and I thought, you know.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's just an email to say we're in the ballot. Well, we knew that anyway.
Oh, I didn't even put my name in, so I'm definitely not going to get to go because I know it's on Adrian's birthday, so there's some days that can't be diabetic.
I think I've really kind of spoilt stuff because I went onto Airbnb a few days ago and I was, looking at places and costing out places. So I shouldn't have done that.
Well, I said in the West Midlands group, I think it was a group of us would get together and get like one of the big houses, because that's what we used to do it when the world transformed was in Liverpool. Is we for all the photography team and video guys, we'd just get this big massive house, and that always worked quite well. But it's organising it.
Yeah, it'd be like the young ones, won't it?
Yeah.
When is Tad again?
It's 25th of May.
25th of May.
The bank holiday weekend.
Let me just check something. Where's that? Gone really slow.
It's up by you, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, not
Liverpool.
Yeah, it's when my mum's from North Wales, so it's about an hour away. So yeah, I'll travel. I'll be
Yeah.
But it's sort of like not wanting to do what you did one year and end up stuck. If you see what I mean. But that was my thought, to get like a big house like we used to do at CWT, but it's cost and everything.
Ooh.
What's that about?
So Sunday. So James, you're still on the line here, I think. Well, you jumped off, but you're still there. So Tad, I knew it was. Oh no! So Tad's the 25th, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Liverpool play Wolves the last Premier League game on Sunday the 19th. So I wonder if the Europa League final thing would be the following weekend. Would it be the following weekend? And then the open bus tour parade, if we win, would be that Sunday. I don't know. I'll have to have a look. Might be a busy weekend.
That's not the right week for us to, Tom, then, I think. Coming from the right side of the Black Country.
That's why Parfus put it in Liverpool, because he's a Liverpool fan. He's going to the parade, boys. We know what he's up to.
You've just spoiled his plan.
Brilliant stuff. So yeah, lots to look forward to. ATTD, Liverpool's parade bus, Tad coming up. JDRF Aberdeen the 17th of March. So go check that out if you're local or fancy traveling up. DUK conference in April. James, are you going to the conference to UK? James, give us a thumbs up if you are. If you're still there. I need to catch up with James. A few things need to.
Do we know when we'll hear from D-Lock about DUK?
I haven't heard yet.
I presumably it'd be after the ATTD now. They'll be too busy concentrating on that. So I reckon next 2-3 weeks, Mark, probably.
It's just because there was no sort of like what Tad did, which I wondered if there would have been nice to have had, but but it was just when we'll know. It'll be interesting.
I'm gonna look for fixtures when. Hey, James.
Hello. I was going to say, I am due to do a symposium, an Abbott symposium with, I think, Emma Wilmot, the lady who's the GP who's on Channel 5. I can't remember her name. I forgot her name.
What, the Prime Minister one? Alternative Prime Minister one person.
No.
It's the one who's got ginger hair. I've forgotten her name. She was on Channel 5 a lot during COVID, I think, as well. But yeah, I meant to do a symposium for them if I can get a ticket and stuff. But yeah, waiting on that. So yeah, I'm due to go. And I've got a poster actually at the UK around peer support actually. So
cool.
Good.
Yeah. So that'll be a good one to have. Yeah, I'm due to be there anyway.
Super.
So come on down.
We might see it.
Yeah, you're good.
I suppose we'll have to get the diabetes chat t-shirts for them as well.
There's only you've not got one, Mark.
I haven't yet, have I?
I'm looking at the Europa League fixtures now, guys. I'm seeing what's happening. When is it? Right. Okay.
Priorities here.
Oh my God. So the final, by the looks of it, is the 22nd of May. When's Tad?
25th.
So, and what day is Tad? Is that a Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah.
Saturday.
Saturday.
I wouldn't be surprised, James, if the Europa League finals are 22nd, which would be the Wednesday. The tour bus, if Liverpool won it, would probably be that Saturday, wouldn't it? Probably.
Could be. Isn't the Europa League in Dublin as well?
Yeah, because that'd be
so
the last.
We can go there, and then
we'll head down to the parade, and then go to
catch the ferry in the morning for the final.
It's going to be in Dublin, London, isn't it? Because that's where most Liverpool fans are.
Oh, behave, Tony. Behave. Right, Claire, get rid of Tony quick. Oh yeah. So yeah, if the final's the Wednesday, the bus tour might be the Saturday or Sunday, the same day as Tad.
And do they do the bus tour only if you win, or anyway?
Probably.
No. I think they've said that they're going to do a bus tour irrespective if they win any more tournaments now. Because of Klopp.
Yeah. Because he's leaving. Oh my gosh.
I think they're going to call the Klopp.
Imagine, yeah.
I can't. Well, that's quite a thing. They'll do a statue, I'm sure.
The statue, yeah, indeed. So yeah, let's head to Dublin. Come on, guys.
It's Europa
again.
Yeah,
Europa League rather than the European Cup, isn't it?
To be honest, I don't know what we're in. To be honest, we're in something.
Okay.
Something on a Thursday.
What kind of a supporter are you?
Champions League, is it?
No, it is the Europa League, isn't it? Europa League, and then the one below that is like the.
It's not the important one.
It's not biggie, is it? Anyway,
says the Villa fan who's kind of in some European league, but it's not the really important one.
James, while you're on the line, I got your email today. I will get back to you as soon as you can. I've been so busy. Mary, while you're on the line, when you're back from ATD, me and you need to catch up to do some info for James, a video for the project, but I'll CC you in it. All right.
Okay, sounds good.
Why are you both on the line? It's like, yeah, done. I just haven't had time to breathe.
No need to email anybody then. Like, yes, we will talk.
So,
Mary.
Yes, Claire.
Can I give you a call tomorrow?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Talk to you then.
There we go. Everyone's penciled in. We know when the Europa League final is. We know we're going to Dublin. We know when the parade is, and brilliant stuff. Next week is Thomas Griffin, which I think you know Thomas, don't you, James?
Thomas,
yes.
Yes.
And we will be talking about connected pens, which is close to my heart. And then the following week, Type 2 chat with Ken and Helga. So next week, me and Rich will be here. And then Type 2 chat, Ken and Helga, Kes and
That'll
Tony.
be good.
That's going to be brilliant because we going to ESAD last year opened my eyes to be even more inclusive of our community and reach out to get more variety of topics. And we've done a few little bits with Type 2 in our sort of events, but it's having them as our guest speakers is great, and hopefully we'll try and do more, because we're not just type 1, it's all diabetes. So we cover parents and all sorts. So yeah, let's bring it on. And then Mary and Philippa, once they're back from ATD and all that, will be hosting with Ginger Vieira part 2.
Yep.
Type
That'll be
1
good.
and a relationship of food. And then next month, end of next month, open forum chat, we'll be talking to Belinda, Tim, and DDoc Voices, Mary, Philippa, Kes, the gang, whoever else, reviewing ATD, really, kind of looking back and
Looking forward to that.
seeing maybe we could reach out to Michelle Law, because I think she's fantastic, and I've tried in the past and she's been quite
Leon?
busy, and Leon and people like that who are really good at like their blogs. And I'm not saying no one, the other guys are fantastic, but
You said it.
I love how they have their like top 5 or top 10 sort of takeaway messages from the whole event. I like, but you know
Michelle's
what?
are so clear.
Yeah, but everyone in DDoc Voice, they do it their own way. There's no one set way, and there's no, you know what I mean? People pay it forward in their own way.
Yeah.
And then can you believe it? It'll be April, and then we're gonna have 2 weeks break. Hopefully come back and do a collab with GB Doc, which would be cool. We'll have a chat with Lisa from Australia. I got a meeting with her on Wednesday with Claire to talk about type 1 camps. And then, yeah, May. So lots to look forward to next couple of months.
Lots going on.
Including Liverpool's parade. Brilliant stuff. And you know what? You know, we didn't talk about tonight. And maybe 2 minutes, quick 2 minutes. The ELSA study is, how old were you when you were diagnosed, Tony and Mary?
I was 18.
Okay. And Tony?
I was 10.
Okay.
10.
So at 10 years old, put yourself in a 10-year-old shoes. You obviously know a little bit about ELSA. Would you be interested in looking at the study from your perspective to look at the sort of potential of developing type 1 diabetes in the future? Obviously, a 10-year-old, you know what I mean? But like your knowledge now, I guess, like what's your thoughts on that before we wrap up?
Yeah. I mean, it was when I was diagnosed, it was a different world, so the most I had was practicing injecting into oranges and stuff, and then a bit of stuff about carbs, and then off you go, and that was it. But I think there is a lot of stuff that I've learned, that I've learned, and obviously we've all learned over the years, in terms of people being diagnosed at the same age, but nowadays with all increased tech and all increased knowledge and all increased language is key. And so it's interesting. I sometimes feel as though there's not a lot really that I can bring to a conversation now that is related to when I was that age.
Oh yeah,
because it was
it was a
different time, and so
like it had Germaline, and it had what other bad drinks? Good drinks. Lucasade with on them. Bring it right round.
And the Corona Man, and cream soda,
the minerals,
dandelion and burdock, and
your Mars bar for your hypo treatment. There we go, all wrapped up in a nutshell.
And it was a bigger Mars bar.
Oh yes,
yeah. And particularly, I remember when all round here was green fields.
Oh, I live in a field. I can't laugh. It's still green fields here.
It's like every time I go into Birmingham with my wife of 20 odd years and my daughter of 18 odd years, I'm always still pointing out to the places that I used to remember as a kid. And it's like they're so sick of me talking about the place that I used to remember as a kid. And
I do that when we go home.
Yeah, it's just like, shut up, Dad.
Did I ever tell you? Yes, you did.
I've just had a shout out from next door. Yep.
And that is the 11 o'clock gong. Because I can't believe we've hit 11 o'clock. It's like proper old school, isn't it?
Yeah, it's me talking bullshit about old days.
Tony,
the good old days.
Do you not swear on diabetes chat, Tony?
Gosh.
I'll have to edit the whole podcast now.
Okay.
We'll have to start the whole night again from the beginning, from 8 o'clock. Come on.
You can bleep. You can bleep.
Yeah, we can bleep. Brilliant chat. Mary, do you want to sum up and then we'll head out?
And just get involved in any kind of research that tickles your fancy, because you'll always help somebody and make things better, because it's all an iterative process. And yeah, that's it.
Happy days. Have a great week, guys. Mary, good luck. ATTD.
Thanks.
And, we'll all be rallying for you.
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Keep you posted. All right.
Cheers,
have a good
guys.
week,
Have a
everyone.
lovely evening. See you later.
Have a good
Bye.
week.
Bye.
Talk to you tomorrow. Bye, Clip. See you. Bye.
Bye.